All right, time to go live. So March 19th, 2022, we're going to be doing some Serpens beta testing today. And Joshua's got a latest release for some playing, and I'm going to go ahead and get it downloaded and install it into Blender. I'm running Blender 3.1.0 today. Verify that my Serpens is not installed. You'll want to make sure you uninstall, reboot Blender. So I've already done that, and then now I can install it again. If you want to be a Serpens beta tester, you can always sign up for the beta program on the Serpens Discord. Just let Joshua know you want to be a beta tester. All right. Let's close this out and open it back up. All right, we got our very first error. Let's go open my console. And it won't install properly, so let's see what the issue is with the install. Node helpers, that's fine. Module not found, no module named Blender Visual Scripting add-on. Okay, well, let's try re-downloading this. Remove. Close Blender out. And let's go to the beta testing. Got the Blender Visual Scripting preview. And my downloads. I'll just delete this and start over. See what's inside here. Blender Visual Scripting add-on. Okay. Bring this over, reopen Blender. Preferences, you can go to edit preferences here. I just made myself a workspace for it. This is a lot easier. And I can look at my 3D view and see stuff load. And I've got it split for my preferences on the left. Okay, install. Let's do our, I'm gonna turn off node helpers just in case that's causing problems.
No.
Hey, what's going on, Joshua?
Hi, how you doing?
Good, man. Trying to get started here. Looks like I've I've already got a crash though, so.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Just from installing?
Yeah, it might be a helper add-on that I had with an old version of Serpens, so I'm disabling that first.
Interesting. And you're on 3.1, right?
Yep, I'm on 3.1. I should be sharing my screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, cool. Let's verify Serpens isn't here. Okay. Just remove this. Okay. Might have been me, we'll see. Loads here fine, and then I get a trace back saying it can't find Blender Visual Scripting add-on.
Ah,
it's got compile rewrite triggers, so it's probably just the end of that, right?
Yeah, it's the build board doing weird things.
Darn build bot.
Maybe I think you can just rename the file. Otherwise, I'll send you a different build.
Yeah, we can rename it. That's fine. So let's just we'll extract all. All right, and then inside here, probably need to do, let's go to this one, right?
Yes. Wait, is there? Oh, there's a file in the. Yeah, let me send you a.
Send me an updated
build.
version.
I don't know what the. Yeah, I don't know what the build bot is doing there.
We'll blame Finn.
Yeah, I mean he wrote the bot, so.
Let's see. That may be it. Blender. So how's your Saturday going, Joshua?
Pretty well.
You guys are like what, 6 hours ahead of me?
Yeah, it's 4 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah, your day's almost over.
Ah, well. Take a little bit of work to catch up on, but yeah, doing well.
That's cool. You working your day job as well as doing your add-on development?
Yeah, I mean, university is kind of my biggest thing, and then I'm working on the side and yeah, doing the add-on. So,
oh, okay. What year are you in university?
I'm in my fourth semester now, so second year, or like, yeah, end of second year, I guess.
Okay. Cool. Majoring in I'd imagine it'd be some sort of computer science.
Yeah, related at least. Like it's called interaction design, the study program. It's kind of a mix between a bit of UI UX design, bit of programming, bit of product design, and so on.
That's right. I remember you telling me this. Yeah, that's really cool. I like UX. UX design is definitely an area that's needed in the world. That's for sure.
For sure, yeah.
All right, let's try this again. Can I do it on the 2? We'll see.
Yeah, I'm just finishing up a build if that doesn't work. Just zipping the files is taking a second.
That's fine. I'll delete this one and this one. It's in my Blender folder. I'm hacking my way and not doing very well. Oh, I think I got past that error, but I got another one.
It's Papa. And that node is new, so maybe it's actually something that got messed up there. Let me check.
Line 126 in import module?
I think that's just Blender code.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. That's not coming from yours.
Yeah, no, file looks fine. Yeah, let me give you a bit. I don't know what is zip file taking so long to.
Oh, that's okay. My zip file took forever to unzip, and it's only a few megabytes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 megabytes. It took me like 2 minutes to unzip it. And while that builds and goes, I guess since this is our first time talking live, this is exciting for me. We worked together for what now? Almost a year and a half, off and on.
Yeah.
I'm just a community member. You're the developer. You and Finn both.
Well, you did a lot of good stuff for the add-on. I mean, your videos are definitely helping out people a ton, and just also the help you're giving in the server in general. It's like it helps a lot. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I would have to say I've dove in with both feet into the Discord server and with Serpens in general. I was really caught off guard by Serpens when I first downloaded it because coding was really hard and Serpens wasn't that bad. And learning to code Python came from learning Serpens. So for me, it's like, I don't know. I feel like I owe Serpens a lot of my coding journey.
That's awesome.
So thank you. Thanks for making a tool that seems to change people's lives like mine. Now I can go in and contribute to code, even if I don't know it all the way. Like I'm contributing to Layer Painter now, and
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I got the build finished now. Let me just upload that.
Cool.
Yeah, so that should work now.
All right, let's go ahead and load this one. I better delete my file real quick. Download this one. And we'll close my Blender out. This is pretty much the way to do it, right? You uninstall your add-on, you close Blender, reopen it.
That should do it. Like if nothing got messed up, then that should be fine. Otherwise, there might be a file left in, or like a folder left in the add-ons.
Yeah.
The Blender add-ons folder you were in earlier, but it should be fine. Yeah.
We can check that, but we'll verify it's not here first. Not here, and go to downloads and try it here. Oh, it enabled. Sweet. Okay.
There we go. Oh yeah, we got some new shortcuts as well here.
Oh, cool. Shift R. Force compile. That's the same one. No docs. Okay, that's new.
Yeah, that just opens the docs side. If you have a node selected and press F1 or whatever you put in here, it just opens the docs side, so you don't have to remember the link all the time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then Shift V is I think you mentioned in your feedback from last time that it would be good to have like a quicker way to add the Blender property node.
Yep.
So yeah, when you go to when you copy a path of some kind, like a data path, and then press Shift V in the node editor, it will add that node and put the file path in. So it's just a quick way to do that now.
Yeah. So let's try let's add in a node. Just Oh wow, the blend data definitely got filled out. You guys have done your homework. Is this
nodes should all be in now.
Okay, cool. So this is the one. I think I asked a question on it, but I maybe didn't ask in the right way. What in the world is the Blender data node for?
Right. So that's basically the lowest level of Blender data you're going to get. So blend data is basically the container for all the materials, the objects, and all of that all lives in blend data. Current context is the context you're in right now. So every area in your Blender file has a specific context, and that's what's also used for operators and so on. And yeah, some data lives in there, some data lives in app. So that's like information about Blender in general, like the version number and so on. And I think path is like mostly some utility functions and so on. But in theory, this should give you access to all Blender data with the, I forgot the exact name, but there's a Python node which lets you get a property from another property. So I think it's called like get property script line or something. It's shipped in the Python category. But that just means that you can now get every, yeah, that should be it. So like you could plug in blend data into the property input here, and then enter objects as the property, and then the property output will be all objects in your blend file.
Okay,
so it's basically the blend data output is basically bpy.data. Yeah, and from there you can get everything.
So let's do just a label just to show this.
Yeah.
So
you shouldn't really need it because you can now get all data from the browser, the blend data browser. But if there's something which you can't get for some reason, then
we would use this basically, right?
Yep.
Okay, so is this is basically the same thing as bpy.data?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And the context is bpy.context, app is bpy.app, path is bpy.path.
Oh, so okay, that makes perfect sense now. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually you can, if you go to the end panel under settings and you enable debug sockets, then you can see it.
That's perfect. That is exactly what I wanted to know. So yeah, so when I go to my console here, like bpy.context and bpy.data are here, and I use the console all the time. It's like if I want to find something out about objects, I can do bpy.data.objects, and then I can always name out my thing like a cube, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as it exists, I think you can do dot and move on. Now mine I think is, what's my name? Default cube. Of course I had to change the name, didn't I? I could come in here and do default. Hit my tab key and it should give me more information, shouldn't it? Let's see. Uh-oh. Guess I did something wrong, didn't I?
I guess it's without an underscore, just a space.
Oh, you're right. I forget when I have to do that and when I don't. Noob mistakes, Joshua. Noob mistakes. There we go. Yeah, so if it sees it, it'll do it. So let's say I wanted to do that exact same thing here. I would first do bpy.data.objects, and then I would do another get property script line on top of that to stack it.
Yep. You just chain them together, and it's basically like the connections are your dots. So
I would do default cube just like this.
I think that should work, yeah.
It looks like it's showing it up there. And then I could do from here, if I want, let's say I want to get, like, let's say I'm not using your super awesome blend data shortcut, but let's say I want to get the name from this. So where do I go from here?
So you just add another get property script line and type in name. And that's should give you the name on that object. So you can see it's the default cube.name, and that's now the property for the name. So you can plug this into a display property to display the name, or you can actually just plug it into a label or something, and it should show the name as well.
So I would just plug that in like that.
Yep.
And then here, and I should be able to, because you guys are now auto-compiling, I should be able to see that on my, oh sweet. So when I change this, obviously it's going to break because this is now not active.
So you can just put in like a 0 here, so you get the first object.
Sure.
So square brackets with a 0, and then you can change the name and it should show up. Alright, it's your light now, but...
Yeah, I get it. Let me go to 1 or whatever. I've got lots of objects on here. Let's try -1. Oh, render plane. Yeah, I've got a couple items in here. So if I did render plane 2, there we go.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, does this work with collections as well? So let's say I wanted to list all the objects.
I mean, yeah, you would have to use a for node, like a for loop node as usual. But the for loop output, like the element output on that, you could then again plug that into another get property script line and keep getting the names from that. So
Okay.
yeah, if you connect this to the to your interface, change it from list to collection.
So let's
yeah,
go.
so on the
So from here, I would plug this right into here.
Yep, and then change the list, the type to a collection,
Oh,
and then you get
okay.
a property output, and then you could just plug that output here into your
So I can do it like
name
this.
get property script line. Yep.
And then I would want, okay, I can turn
That's
off
the
my
repeat
debug
output
sockets
and
just to see.
should be.
So do I need to change anything with item? Can it stay on property in this
Yeah,
case?
so for collection, yeah, for if you have the type set to collection on the for loop, then the items in that collection will always be your properties.
Okay.
So like the objects collection will, like every object in that is basically a property or at least a type of plant data. So that's always fine. If you select list as a type and you plug in some kind of list,
Sure.
then you need to change the output type to whatever data you have in your list.
Okay.
Because
okay.
we can't figure that out from just like we don't know what's in your list at that point. So you need to tell us, and then the output type is important because when you plug one output into another output, we need to convert that data if it's different. Like if you plug a string into a number input or something, we need to convert that data, and if you have the wrong data output type selected, then we can't convert it properly, and yeah, that will cause problems then.
Sure. Yeah. So if I'm doing this as a property, that part is okay. And when I turn on debug sockets, it should show me. It's like I've got objects, and then what is this
Yeah,
exactly?
that's
that's
so that's
coming from
the
here.
variable name, right? So if you look at the index output, so the green one on the for loop,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so that's the index at any point, and this is basically the variable name, so I underscore, and that's just
Oh, okay.
a random string of characters.
Now,
And that's the index of that object in that run of the loop. So we basically just put that into before data.objects, and that's what you're plugging into your script line.
okay. So this is being used as the enumerated index, is that right? Like the Python equivalent?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. This may be, you can tell me if this is too complex of a question for a recording. How did you guys come up with your random naming conventions?
Oh, you mean just these characters here? Like that's just like some Python library that generates unique identifiers.
Oh, cool. Because obviously, if I were to make another one, it would make a whole new one, right? Yeah, D9,
right, it's
E1.
Yeah, just a random string of characters. I think it's actually the UID of the node which gets put in there. So every node has a UID, and I think it should show up if you check debug nodes in the end panel. It shows you the static UID. So every node has a static identifier, and this identifier is used for things like panels, and in this case the variable name. But because we don't want to force you to enter like a unique variable name for every panel or whatever. We instead use these UIDs to make sure that every for loop you make, every panel you make is unique, and you don't have to worry about it.
And that makes sense to me. Because I wouldn't have to, every time I use a for loop node, I wouldn't have to come in and say, okay, what is my variable going to be called? Like you guys are automatically doing it for me. And this is like this user ID is associated with this node, but you're making a variable, and the variable is its own thing inside the for loop. So it's not necessarily tied to this. It's just copying the name, right?
Yeah, we're just using, because we're generating the code in that node, we can use the static ID of that particular node in the code, and we know that it's definitely going to be unique for this particular node, so we can use it on the outputs on the and on the general code of the that we generate for it.
I actually really like this convention because if I'm going and troubleshooting, so we've done auto compile as we're going, and look, it's already showing all my objects. This is awesome.
Nice.
So let's say something broke, like I did like namer, and everything broke because I did it wrong, and I do this all the time. So I could come in and open up my console, and the console will come in and tell me, hey, I've got some attribute namer. Did I mean name? In this case, it knew that I was close, but it's giving me some tracebacks. And if I'm trying to find out why it's breaking, I should be able to backtrack to this in the compiled code, right?
Yeah. I mean, if
so keep error file for debugging, is that how I enable the script to show
yeah, that
up?
should show you a log file and or like it keeps the file after compiling. There's also an option in in the end panel here to keep code, so that will just keep the Python file all the time.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it will keep a separate file for the errors if you check the checkbox in the preferences.
So what's the difference between keep code, maybe you just said this, and keep error file?
Yeah, so keep code will always keep the file after it's changed. So and keep error file will make a separate file for the code that threw the error. So you don't if you change stuff in your nodes and it compiles the code again, the error file will be separate. So
okay, so in this case, if I did name and it compiles, I can go to my scripts workspace and I can go look at Serpens code log, right? And this should be my.
That's the correct code that worked. And if you go to enter something, actually it will.
So that will that do a debug? Because it still compiles, right? It's just failing.
Right, exactly.
Failing.
Yeah.
So if I had to do something that broke the compile, then I would get the error. I would get this one, right?
Yeah, I think if you put a space in the in this namer here, just somewhere in between,
like that.
I think it should throw a syntax error, maybe.
Let's take a look at our console. Okay, error when registering Serpens add-on. So this is probably one that's going to generate a code. So I would get a separate code called Serpens error.
And that will be kept even if you compile the code again. So you can
so I can keep it reference. Now, can I remove it anytime I want to remove it, or is that going to break things?
Yeah, you can remove all these files. They don't Serpens doesn't need them.
Oh, sweet. So this is different than Serpens 2.0 because if I deleted those files and I tried to compile again, I would crash my compiled in Serpens 2, I think.
Interesting.
I
guess we probably kept the reference to that and used it again.
Yeah.
In this case, I think we're just looking if there's a file with the same names, and otherwise we just create a new one.
Yeah. Sometimes I would get it would be my add-on name. So let me get rid of my blank script here. This isn't doing anything. I have EasyBPy. Now I don't need this either now, do I?
No, you just need to have it in the modules folder, like the normal way you install EasyBPy, and it shows up there as being installed, and
So all I have to do is go to my computer, my whatever location. So for Windows, it's through App Data Roaming, Blender Foundation, Blender, and then there's a scripts, and then I think it's modules, right? And I just drop EasyBPy here. Now in Serpens 2.0, we actually had to load the file, didn't we? And in Serpens 3, we no longer have to do that.
Right. So you had to basically add the file for every blend file you created, and now we just reference that file you dropped in modules.
So what? I guess is it only EasyBPy that it looks for, or will it load other modules as well?
Only EasyBPy.
Okay.
I guess we could expand it to more. I don't know if there's other files like which this would make sense for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the 3D Ninjas one that auto loads images might be cool. I forget what the name of that one is. You know the one I'm talking about?
Is that just the one that like loads previews faster, or is it different?
Yeah, it's one that loads previews like instantaneously. So if I was in, I'm getting a little off topic. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So when I have to turn this on and off because this takes up so much resources. I have a brush manager, and when I click on this thing, this loads the image previews. Let's go to like my stylized brushes library. And this add-on will load the image previews instantaneously because it has a separate module that you install. all these load like crazy fast. And if I didn't have that installed, Blender would just take forever. It would go through and load them one at a time, until it was finally done loading like all 1,000.
Yeah, I think this particular one, like it takes a little bit more because you need to install a Python library for it to work, and you need to have custom image formats and so on. So it would add quite a bit of extra work on top of it.
So 3DN BIP library. So that they basically have an install pillow thing that they do with it. Now, I'm not saying you guys have to do this. I was just asking if this is something similar that could be supported if there were, let's say if there were individual, let me go back to my file explorer here. If there were individual files that it could just load the thing. I mean, that might be cool, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we just would have to figure out like what you're actually importing. Maybe you could select that manually, and then we basically just need to transfer that file into the exported add-on. So that's what we're doing with this. So we're just copying this file into your exported add-on.
I mean, that's kind of like assets though, right? I mean, it's fairly similar to assets.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would work. Yeah, I don't really see a problem with that if there's use for that. I mean, EasyBPY is just useful because it's like it has the same goal as Serpens does, just making Python simpler.
Sure.
So
I'll be completely honest. I keep forgetting to use EasyBPY. Like I just get so used to like navigating down the path that I forget that there's a lot of shortcuts that Curtis Holt has already put effort into making for us, make our lives easier. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys doing it. And then if it loads, it's automatically shown here. Now, if somebody drops it in, do they have to restart Blender for this thing to load in?
Yeah, it's I think it's on file load or something, so you could just reopen the file and it should find it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it will work even if it's installed and doesn't show as it's being installed. It's just maybe it won't work on export. I think it should. So yeah.
All right.
Just reset Blender and it should work.
Yeah, just save and close and reopen and it should just load. I mean, mine loaded because I already did it from Serpens 2.
Right.
Which is cool because now I don't need to worry about storing, my EasyBPY script here. I can have a blank.
Just work with every new add-on.
I can have a blank script now. It's great. Okay, so let's fix my name issue, and I don't want to take up your whole day. How long do you want to chill for?
Okay. Oh, I made myself a tea before we started, so I'm good.
Okay, cool. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I can go for hours, and I don't want to keep you for hours. So whenever you're like, okay, you know what? I think I've had my fill, Sean.
That's okay. We'll see how long we go.
Okay, cool. Well, so my next question is, I really like that we show the sockets and nodes. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
What else is a static ID useful for? Because when I enable debug nodes, can I as a developer make use of this information? I've never really used this before.
I mean, not really, I think. Yeah, I mean, we use it for specific nodes. So actually, like if you're developing an add-on on top of Serpens, like for Serpens, like your Serpens helper add-on or something like that, then it might be useful because we basically, for every node, we keep a separate reference to that node. So for example, on the panel node, when you select subpanel, and then you can select one of the panels you created, we basically have a separate collection where we store all your nodes in for a specific node type, and we use the UID for that as well. But yeah, so I guess in that case, or if you have a specific node like the for loop where you want to find out what the name of the variable will be when you're working with the code. I mean, it would be very specific cases. There's no like general use that's like really applies to a lot of things.
But it would help if I'm developing something that uses helping out in Serpens. It would help me develop something that I'm using Serpens for. I could see that being a case. So the debug nodes, this is something I think that was initially advertised way before the beta was even open. And I mean, me personally, I really fell in love with this because my understanding is this shows you what's being compiled basically based on the node. So this panel node, this is all the code that goes into making that panel work. You have a code section that defines everything, you have its register, and you have its unregister, right?
That's right.
No, they don't show up back to back when you actually go to the compiled script, but they do show you what code is related to it.
Yep. Yeah, so basically you see all the code that goes into this particular branch of nodes. So there's certain nodes, we call them trigger nodes, like the panel, which is basically the starting point for a program node tree. So interface and execute sockets are programs, and the panel node is the start of one of those trees. And this panel node, this trigger node, will have all the code associated with this branch. So if you want to figure out how to make that panel in Python, then just look at the code on that panel and it will show everything related to it.
Yeah, so if I added another label, it would show up on the panel node inside of the code, right?
Yep.
So I added another label and I bring it down and do a... So this is one of the questions I had from before. What if I want to add in another repeat on my for loop? That's not coded still, right?
Yeah, you just need to add a row.
So I would just need to do a row. Is there plans to be doing multiple sockets, or is the idea just use rows from now on?
I mean, yeah, I guess it couldn't hurt to put in, like, make it dynamic. It would just add like one more output for the repeat socket and one more output for the continue output, so it would just make the node a little bit taller. But
yeah, this is, I mean, this isn't necessarily something you have to do. This is more just questions because Serpens 2.0 is different. And so it's just like asking questions, okay, well, this is now not something I'm used to. What do I do from here? And I think row nodes are fine. Like if I want to do multiple things on this, I just tie in a row node. Or I can tie in column nodes or even separator nodes, right?
Yeah, I mean, separator is a split node, yeah. Separator is just like makes a little bit of space. But yeah, I think it kind of makes sense to have to use column or row nodes because you're sort of defining everything that goes into that place. Like you're exactly defining the layout you want.
I think I agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a downside or upside. Might just get a little bit like confusing to have a lot of socket outputs on that on this for loop.
I think I actually think I do like forcing you to add in a row node because it shows the addition of the row here, right? So we say row equals layout whatever, and then I come in here and add in all my stuff. And when I change this to, hello, that's the latest one down below.
Mm-hmm.
And I could add in another one. And we just keep adding them. And that's really cool. Yep, I like that. Okay, so let's go on to a couple of things that I've always had a little bit of questions on or have confused me that I don't think about until I'm like in the weeds. So let's say I want to change my label or my category. So I've got lots of stuff on my end panel here. And I want to go to make this tools. So it's going to show up with my tool. And now it shows here. Order, what does order exactly do for the panel?
Right, so it basically orders the nodes, it orders your panels. So if you put them in a separate category, so yeah, maybe just like put in a custom category here and then copy your panel, and maybe give it a different label so you can just copy it because there's no content in it.
Sure, let's
and then you
make this smaller, that way it's a little bit easier to see.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then you change the order of the first, the top panel node, just make that a 1. And yeah, that will move it below that panel.
Okay, cool. And this is like, I can drag and drop, but every time I load Blender, will it default back to the order that's stated here?
I actually don't know. I think it gets saved with your file.
Okay.
So basically this order is just like the default and it's just a property on the panel which orders them when they're registered. And what you do after that I think it probably saves it with your file, but it might not for when you're developing, because we're basically making a different panel each time you compile to like fully update all the properties. So if you enable debug nodes on the panel, and you look at the first line in there, the SNA PT new panel, and then you see one of those UIDs again, the 260DC.
Yep.
And then you just enable one of the checkboxes on that panel node just to update it. You'll see that UID completely changes.
Oh yeah, look at that.
So yeah, we're basically doing that. Like we're not using the static UID here. We're using one that changes all the time. Update.
The name is changing all the time. You're right.
Yeah. So if you check the default closed checkbox down there, then you see it will actually close and open, and that wouldn't happen if we use the static UID, because it's basically Blender remembers if that panel was open or closed. So even if we change that default, it won't update the panel. So we just decided to use a UID that changes every time you register it, so you can actually see the changes as you're making them.
So if I click anything in here, even if I change my category, it would, like if I just come in here and hit this, it will update, even if I didn't change anything, right?
If you didn't change anything,
look at that.
Oh yeah, it does. On the panel it does, because it's using that UID.
So does it?
On other nodes it doesn't. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Is it calling unregister every time I do something here? So like it gets rid of the code, so it's not sitting in memory and just not being used anymore. Like the old name.
Yes,
so the 7643. When I come in here and I hit this, 7643 shouldn't exist anymore. Is that how I'm understanding it?
If you go into one of those files, so if you go to scripting and go all the way to the bottom, you can see the sn.addon_unregister.append unregister. So we're basically saving that unregister function that you're creating here, separately, so we can register this file. And then the next time we're registering a file, we can check if there's an unregister method saved somewhere. And if there is, then we call that to get rid of your current add-on, and then we register again.
Oh, cool. Okay. So every time you're doing a change inside this graph, you're calling the unregister and re-register? Is that how that's working? Like if I had another label in here, the whole add-on basically unregisters and then re-registers?
In this case, it doesn't. Like the thing with the autocompile is that with Serpens 2, that was how it worked. Yeah.
Okay. So Serpens 3, it's not doing it. Only for these major
only
changes.
If the code actually changed. So if the code on a trigger node, like on a panel, on an operator, on one of those nodes, if the code on one of those changes, then we register the entire add-on.
Okay.
And it should be really fast, because at that point all the code is already saved on the nodes. So in Serpens 2, we would then at that point go through all of the nodes, basically build up the entire code, and then register it. And with Serpens 3, we can basically just go through our trigger nodes, and just take the code and register it. So that's why it should be really fast now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't made an entirely massive node tree yet, but I noticed that it's a lot faster in Serpens 3, the compile time. And I think I went like 4 or 5 if loops in, and I don't think it was terribly suffering from performance. So let's
that's the
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that like connecting more nodes to a trigger node shouldn't really slow it down, because as I said, like it's basically saving all the code on that panel node, and it's not really adding to the complexity of this code. Like it's adding a couple more lines, but it doesn't really do anything. If you start adding more panel nodes, that will slow it down a bit, because it has to go through more panels that it needs to register. And it's basically this registering and unregistering which is taking the most time, actually building the code doesn't take any time. Like it takes a millisecond or something.
Sure.
And doesn't really get slower. You can actually, there's a debugging option for that as well in the end panel. So if at some point you notice that it's getting slower, then that might be useful, and it will just in the console put out a report on how long the different sections took.
So it would say, is it only when I'm changing things on the panel? Like if I were to do like hide header?
Yeah. So only, yeah, that should
Okay.
have triggered it.
Yep.
There you go.
So adding a label
So you can
will...
see, right, so you can see like building the code doesn't take any time. Yeah, and just adding a label free floating doesn't actually update the code because it's not adding to the actual add-on. Like just the label node doesn't do anything. If you connect it to the panel, that will update the panel's code, and that will re-register the add-on.
Okay, so when I do this, I'm changing something on the panel, right? So does that mean the panel name is changing at the same time every time I'm doing that?
Yep.
Okay, so it was, well, let me double check this.
Wait, is this
32F76.
Serpens 3?
This is, welcome.
Holy, wait, is it getting released now or is it already released?
It is, we're just beta testing. It's,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just me.
The add-on is mostly done, but we have a bit of documentation to write, so yeah, quite a bit actually, and a couple bugs to
That's
fix.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm just playing and I'm tearing Joshua's brain apart, learning about the things that he did in Serpens 3 that are new, and how it causes things to change when I'm updating my graph. These are just questions that I think about when I don't have anybody to talk to, but I don't know how to ask them. So today is the perfect time because Joshua's available. So you're welcome to sit and watch, or if you have a question or two, that's fine too. I'm streaming mainly just going through, and this is for people who are new to Serpens or who are interested about Serpens 3. So I'm recording this for YouTube, just to post on my channel. You're welcome to ask questions too if you'd like. It's Arto Friaz, is that right?
Yeah. Looks sick. Wait, does it show the code to you now? On the nodes?
Yeah, so there's a couple of options over in the settings. Let's see how good I am at regurgitating what Joshua's taught me. So
you know what though? Like Serpens is really good for learning actual code.
Well, in Serpens 3, it's even better because you can click on the settings here and you can click on Debug Nodes. And so these nodes that start things off, like a panel node is the start of your node tree. These ones contain everything that is tied to them. So the individual nodes have their own little information. So this label's tied to a row, but it has its own little line that it's showing here. And as you change things like hello2, the code here updates, but it also updates at the row.
That's sick, actually.
It updates at
It's a great
the loop.
learning resource, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Serpens.
This is, like, to me, this is just awesome because now I can see, and I can turn it on and off, which is probably something I wouldn't have thought about. I'm glad Joshua thought about this. I just wanted it on all the time. Just is like, well, this is going to get really big.
Right, some nodes just get really, really long.
So,
and that's actually...
Looks sick. You feel cool when you turn that on.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And you can also debug your sockets, so your socket contains code as well, which these can get really long too. Obviously.
Yeah, it's more useful on the data sockets.
It's much more useful on the sockets like this, get property script line, where I'm like getting information. So I've got my Blender data nodes. When I turn off debug sockets, the socket actually changes for me to tell me what exactly I'm pulling off of.
That actually makes like more sense. You should enable that by default.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's like you're building code, like you're actually building the code name using nodes.
Yeah, now this is actually not, this is the long way of doing it. So we haven't even really gotten into the blend data yet. This is a really new feature of Serpens 3. And maybe it's probably time to take a look at this with Joshua live. So this is
the biggest change.
This is the biggest change in Serpens 3, and like all these other things are different than it's called the blend data What exactly do we
Browser.
call this? The browser? Yeah, the browser.
I would call it blend data browser. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Blend Data Browser lets you browse everything inside of Blender, and when you open it, it actually opens up a Blender Preferences window, and it unhides some. I don't know if this is just a separate window, but when you exit, it just goes back to Blender Preferences, and you can close this at any time, or you can toggle it back and forth with this. Oh wait, no, you can't. Okay, it just opens it. Okay. But it does change the Blender preferences. So when I've got a layout. This is actually really cool. I've got an edit preferences layout, and it actually shows it here, which I thought was really neat.
That's really cool.
So let's actually get into diving into this. So let's say I want to get, I've got objects in my scene. So let's add in a Suzanne. And I want to get this Suzanne on my panel. So let's delete stuff off my panel. Let's start over. I just have a blank panel, right? And there's nothing on it. Joshua, okay. I want to go and find my Suzanne. So let's use blend data to get it. This is how I would do it, right, Joshua? This is the whole point?
Yep, absolutely. So the first thing you need to think about now is if you want to actually get the data from that Suzanne, so you know you have an object with a specific name, or that you're referencing somehow, and you want to get the name of this particular object, or if you want to use something like the active object instead. So because that will give you a different Blender property node depending on which source you choose. So that's the difference in the left here, the source, between context and data. Context is basically like whatever is active right now. So if, for example, you can see the first one in this list now is the active object. So that will, it's basically a placeholder for whatever the active object is right now. Or you go to the data as the source, and then you will find the object somewhere.
It's going to be right here.
Yep. Yeah, and you can expand that, and then you should see the Suzanne on there. There you go. So that are two ways to get to an object right now, and you can get data from an object this way. But it's important to keep in mind where this object will come from.
Sure.
So one thing you can do is use the object from the data, and then later plug in the active object as the blend data. But if you choose the object from the context, so you choose the active object, it will always be the active object, and you don't have a way of plugging in a different object at that point.
Sure. So let's start with let's just go simple first. Let's say I just want my Suzanne, and I want to print Suzanne's name on a label, like something super simple that a noob could figure out. So all I'd have to do is I come here and hit copy, right?
Yep, you can try that. I won't.
Let's see if it works.
You can see the data type of the thing you're copying next to it.
It's a pointer.
This is a pointer, which is basically it means it's blend data. And you can see there are collections, so these collections are collections of blend data. And down there you have
this
other
opens
properties.
Up a huge list, right? These are all collections, these are all pointers, and then I've got all these.
Filter them.
These are properties on the Suzanne object. And inside of here I should see something called name. And blah 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 blah. String, here we go, string, name.
Yeah, this is where you should use the filters.
This is where
scroll.
This is where I want to turn.
On the left are those are the global filters basically for the top level of the list. And if you enable, just select collections because there was, there you go. So if you go to the Suzanne again.
Let's open up my Suzanne, and then I can click on filter. Is that right?
Yep.
And then I can just filter on string. Oh man, look at that.
Only strings.
That's so much easier.
Also type in a name. So.
I didn't even know this was a button.
Maybe you should make it more obvious then.
I guess you could put the emboss on it. I don't know.
The idea was to use the color to actually highlight what is filtered and so on, but maybe we'll figure out a way.
You should make this browser thing available separately too, because I think a lot of Python users can use this too. Very useful.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
mean it's
the browser.
basically what you have in the console. So if you go in the console, and we actually did this earlier, like you press tab to have the autocomplete. Like if you press tab now, this should give you a list of the properties here, and those are basically the things you see in this list as well. So the
Yes.
list is like the brand data browser is just a more visual way of exploring this
Yeah.
autocomplete feature.
Yeah, so if I
The
did
console
v5,
is just scarier. It's just much scarier.
Right.
well, the problem with the console that I've found, and don't get me wrong, I love the console. I use the console all the time, but it is really hard to navigate the console. I'm always having to shift my window up, and if I want to do something in objects, I can hit tab and it automatically fills the information out, but I don't always know what's here. And so I have to come back and hit my tab key, and I have to scroll through this list to see, okay, what is it? And I don't even know what the data types are on these things. Like I have to, a lot of days I'm just playing blind. Okay, what is keys? Well, I'll just type in keys and see what happens. And and sometimes
I
it
mean,
works and
that's the
sometimes
way
it
to do
doesn't,
it.
right?
Yeah, at some point, like you just get used to how the console works, and it has some quirks where it does some unexpected things.
But what I
But
what
yeah,
I
I
like
think
about the browser is it's really similar to the console structure,
exactly,
only
yeah.
you've got filters now. And you've got information about the data type that you're pulling information off of. Now, when I click, so this is a little side question. When I click refresh, does it just refresh the one item, or is it refreshing the entire system?
It's refreshing everything inside this thing. So if
Okay.
you go and delete one of your objects and then refresh the objects, then it should not show that object anymore.
So let's delete Suzanne. Now she's still technically in memory, right? Because it's in the, what is it, orphan data still? I go to my meshes and Suzanne's still here. But when
Yeah,
I
we
hit
don't
refresh
take that
here,
into account.
oh geez.
Then that won't work because you're refreshing the object that doesn't exist anymore, and we should probably catch that error. But if you refresh the objects, because that's where Suzanne lives in.
So if I come up here
So
to objects, right, and I hit refresh here, so let's just watch Suzanne
Yep.
when I refresh objects. Boom.
yeah,
Okay, so
that way
Suzanne's
that
gone.
get rid of it.
But if I
So you
restore
need to
her,
refresh the thing that's above. That's basically the parent, because that is where Suzanne is found. And yeah,
so if I make her a fake user, does she come back?
I don't actually
Oh
know.
no, she doesn't. Is there okay, so this is just a separate question. Is there information on orphan data here?
Maybe. I mean, I guess it's stored somewhere in Blender, so
Might be an app,
it's
maybe.
probably no, that's like only properties.
We don't have to dive in the weeds. I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, I don't know where that's stored. Python orphan data. Let me see.
I would imagine it's in data somewhere. Or maybe it's not in data anymore. Maybe it's just being stored off to the side.
What are you looking for?
So I've deleted Suzanne. When you delete an object in Blender, it goes into like this orphan category. Not everything becomes an orphan, but a lot of things do. Brushes, textures, images, meshes. They come in here, and when you close Blender out, it like the system purges itself, and then the next time you open Blender, the orphan data is gone. But you can like keep your orphan data around if you want by making it a fake user. I don't know why you would do that, but they let you.
I think it might still exist in meshes, but not in objects.
Okay, so let's look at
Because
meshes then. Oh yeah,
you're
look at
deleting
that.
the object, but the Suzanne mesh still exists.
And this
It probably
makes
just doesn't have any users. So there's a users property, which is just an integer telling you how many things in Blender are actually using this mesh. And if you have nothing using it, then you actually see it in the outliner here, the 0.
Yep, 0 users, right? Number of users for this data block.
Yep.
So how many things are using the information on this object? So if I make a fake user, I technically
And that's one.
like it's not going to be deleted because something is technically using it, even though it's fake. But this makes total sense to me, because when I was adding in meshes via Python, they would show up without any users, and I would get so frustrated because they wouldn't show up here.
Yeah, you'd have to assign them
you have
to an
to
object.
you have to link them to a collection or to an object.
Yeah.
And
Currently learning Python, it's so hard. Oh
it
my
is
God.
hard, yeah. When you're doing things with Serpens,
It is.
I mean, it makes it easier. But even doing Serpens, I would add in objects and they wouldn't show up here. I was like, okay, what's going on? So then I'm
Doing
over
a hybrid
on
of both.
yeah, I'm going over to the what is it, the Stack Exchange, and I'm googling why isn't my object adding when I'm
Yeah.
doing it via Python. But this is cool because this is showing you, hey, it still exists in memory. It still has all of its properties and attributes I can reference. It's just not coming from the objects anymore. Okay, so
Yeah, it's gonna be part of meshes now.
yeah, so we'll just add Susan back in real quick. So I don't worry about that, Susan. I'll just add another one. Go change my console
Are you
back.
gonna
in.
redo like everything, Blanche? Like all of your series?
Yeah. So I think Serpens 3. I guess maybe this is too soon to ask Joshua, but I'm gonna ask him anyways. Joshua, is this the last Serpens version planned?
Oh god.
Never know.
You mean just the 3 series?
Well, so we've done. I think it's been one per year. So in 2019 timeframe, 2020 we came out with Serpens 1, and then 2020 to 2021 we had Serpens 2, and Serpens 2 was vastly different than Serpens 1. We had extra node graphs that we could do. We had opportunities to bring in a lot more information in more clean ways, and Serpens 3 is just improving upon that. So are there, I guess this is more of a development pipeline. Like Blender has this grandmaster vision of what they want to do with Blender over the next 5 years. Now, I know that you guys, like your developer stage is like you and Finn are both in school and you're going to be starting your own careers. And so I don't think add-on development is your full time.
What the hell? So cool.
Yeah. So what is the plan with Serpens long term, I guess, as of right now? The plan can change, but what is the initial vision?
Right, so the thing is, I think because Blender in general is going to everything nodes, just like as their master plan, as you said, or as their grand vision. At some point, they are going to have some of the features that Serpens has. I think the most useful thing is the interface nodes, because that's just very quick to add things. So I'm pretty sure at some point they're going to have some sort of like interface nodes, which just lets you quickly make menus, quickly make panels somewhere, just with built-in Blender operations and then just scripts. So that's like one part of Serpens taken care of.
Sure.
Like of course it does a lot more, and I think it's useful for that reason to keep it around. Like for me the goal is, because like at some point I won't be developing it anymore. Like that's pretty clear. But I don't know how long that will be. Like I have absolutely no idea. Not anytime that soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you plan on just saying, okay, well, I'm done with Serpens.
Right.
But it's also not something you plan on supporting forever, right? It's something that's going to eventually be possibly phased out.
Yeah, and exactly. And the idea is that because Serpens has a community of people that will start to know how to learn, like how to use Python, and there will be people that will know how to use Python. At some point, it can transition into a state where it's mostly like it works. The core of Serpens works. Maybe at some point it needs an update for like a Blender version bump when the Python API changes, but in general, Serpens just works. And then on top of that, we have packages. Like we already have those, which mean you can develop custom nodes for Serpens. And at that point, it's like we basically don't need to develop Serpens any further, because people can come in, make their custom node. Yeah, that the marketplace isn't being loaded yet.
Yeah, it's fine. But this is where it will
but
be,
it's-
right? We can build
right,
packages and the community can continue to
Yeah, and you
develop.
can. Yep, and we made them a bit more obvious. Like they're in the node editor now. You can install them from there, so they're like a bit more obvious to find. So you have this extensions panel here, where you can install packages, and you will be able to install snippets as well. Yeah, but the idea is that basically the Serpens core will be like very stable and very useful at some point, and from that point on, people can come in, any developers can come in and just make one node or a couple of nodes for some specific features to make some things easier. And then users can install those. Yeah, maybe the Serpens core can go open source at some point as well to allow for that. But yeah, that's sort of the end goal, I would say.
Sure. And does that end goal, I mean, does that mean possibility for Serpens 4 in the future if it ends up going that way? And I'm okay with Serpens 4, to be honest. I don't mind. I mean, we have to roll the changes that Blender throws at us every time they release something.
Yeah. I mean, I've basically written this add-on 3 times now, which is kind of ridiculous because it's a pretty big thing to make. But like the thing is, you learn so much from just redoing everything, like being able to change the entire structure of the project, that for that reason Serpens 4 could probably exist. Like, I'm pretty happy with how Serpens 3 looks right now, and yeah, how the compiler works and all that. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of changes which would make it a lot better and a lot more powerful.
Sure.
I think just a general design change to how the nodes sort of behave and are linked up might be useful, like having a lot more just having a lot more nodes for blend data and so on, which makes it easier to access stuff. Maybe being even more real time. So before with Serpens 2, we basically did everything based on like global information of what could exist. So if you plugged in an object into a get data node, it would show all the options that an object can have. And now with the blend data browser, we show all the options that a real object actually has. So you actually reference a Suzanne and not just a fictional object that doesn't really exist. So that's a pretty big design change we made, and I think it could go a lot more in this direction. Also with things like events and so on, so modal operators having actual context.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's
a
cool.
lot of there's a lot of things that could be done there, but it would require like some bigger design changes in
Sure.
how the nodes work, how what socket types exist, and I think for that reason a Serpens 4 could potentially exist. I'm not planning on writing that because maybe writing is 3 times is enough.
Yeah, maybe
I'm
it
happy
is
to,
enough,
to
right?
support writing it. Yeah.
I remember I'm gonna get back into this. I remember the first time I got put into the experts channel, and Finn, you guys had just released an update to Serpens 1. And you're like, all right, for Serpens 2 is on its way. And Finn's like, we're doing this again? You're like, yep, we are.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. And here we are now at Serpens 3. And Finn has been part of this journey too for Serpens 3, or has it just been you?
Yeah, I mean, for the core, it's mostly been me. He's been doing a lot of just like implementing nodes and getting stuff done. And yeah, also he'll be doing some documentation and so on. So he's definitely also
still active.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
How long does it take from start to finish?
Oh god.
Code is never done.
And that's...
No, but the final release, like how long does it take?
How long will it take from now? Like how long did it take from when we started?
From the start, like of Serpens 3. How long did it take to write the whole thing?
Up to now, I guess is what he's asking.
Yeah. I don't remember when I think in like early December of last year we started. Could that be? Like we sent when
it's been a while. Yeah.
A couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not counting
like,
hours at this point because it would
wait,
probably
so
just
you
be
didn't
depressing on
salvage
how
like
many hours.
any bit of code from Serpens 2? Not even a bit.
Like a tiny bit. Like I think the way the node categories, like the Shift A menu works, I think that's the same. And I kind of want to change it because it's not a nice part of the code. But other than that, it's like only very small parts of the code are from Serpens 2. Otherwise, it's
Can't
just
even comprehend it. Using Python to help you use Python. Does that even work?
That's what I like about Python. It helps you make it easier. It's a very approachable language.
Nodes in the code.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I mean, I think this is really cool, to be honest. A lot of this is possible because of the Nodes API in Blender, though, isn't that right, Joshua? Like, Blender allows you to build code for itself, which makes Serpens easier. Without that, it'd be even more work, I would think.
Right. I mean, it would kind of be impossible, yeah.
The Nodes API kind of bad in Blender.
Well, Serpens is built off of it, I think, pretty much.
Yeah.
I've heard developers say that it's very bad.
Yeah, they say that. I've gotten used to it. It could be. I think the reason many people say, or like there's a difference between the Nodes API for how you manipulate materials and so on, and the API which lets you create nodes, like create custom node trees and so on, which is mostly what we use. Like we don't do a lot of adding nodes to your node tree, you are connecting them and so on. So like I think people say the Nodes API for like doing this stuff, like adding nodes, connecting nodes, changing values on nodes and so on, like that part is bad, which I mean, I agree. That's like to some degree. I've done it a lot
that
in
messes
layer
with my
painter.
head. It's that the geometry nodes node and the shader nodes, they have the same name in the Blender API apparently. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I guess they're kind of separate and kind of the same. Yeah, Blender uses a lot of the same socket types, which is probably like for different types of node graphs, which is probably a good thing because at some point like they could connect them up, and also they can just reuse parts of the code. But yeah, I mean for the actual node API to create custom nodes and so on, that is just very simple. There's like not a lot of help for making your own stuff, so you have to write a lot of things from scratch. Like the reason why we didn't have reroutes in Serpens 2 is just because you just have to
to make it from scratch
yourself. Yeah. Or like not write the actual reroute node or the still thing, but like how they work.
Reroutes.
They're in Serpens 3.
There?
What are we talking about? I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Reroutes.
Reroutes. We have reroutes now.
Oh yeah, they do. They do have reroutes. So if I wanted to do a reroute, I could do shift and make my reroute.
Yes. Oh my god, I'm so happy.
And what that
you could
it's only for certain things. I don't think you should use a reroute on things like an execute or a
you can't have a
panel, right? It's just for data.
Yeah, I mean you can use it for just layouting, just making your node tree look nicer. But you can't have multiple outputs coming off of like you can't plug a panel output into two labels, and you can't plug a panel reroute into two labels either. So
yeah, so I couldn't do this like AS and I do a label just for quick and dirty. Like I couldn't do this and then reroute and do this, right? It would break.
Yeah, it should make one of them red. Like it tells you what you can't do. That's the red wire here.
Let's see, and I even think I threw an error in the console, didn't I? Yeah.
Wait, can I input an integer into the icon? Is the index?
Yeah, the icon is just an integer. You can actually also put in a name, like a string, but it.
Wait, you added that too? Oh my god, that's so sick.
So is that part of the icon viewer as well? So I could do like options, and it should show the options.
Yeah, if you click on that, it should copy options, and if you just add a string node, and yeah, just paste that in there and connect it to the output here.
Yeah, oh my god, that's so cool. That's really cool.
I need to find I think I broke my code, hold on.
I was having problems with that because I was trying to make my add-on compatible with B4 artists as well, which is a Blender fork.
Yeah.
Icons were just messed up.
Yeah. They still will be if you select them from the like on the icon socket. You can now choose an icon.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That still won't work.
We can use the names.
Yeah, you can use the names. We might still change it so you can also select it right on the node, like on the input. Yeah, I'll have to see about that, but this is a workaround which should fix
That's
it.
really cool.
So you can do it based
does
on
it
name or number.
auto-compile now?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, the auto compile is really cool.
Yeah.
Everything is auto compiling as it goes. So as I'm adding nodes and making changes, the display and the UI change.
Is it slow or is it fast?
You can actually debug it. So on the Serpens menu, you can come here and debug compile time, and when I open my console,
also in the header, just the time. In the like if you go to the top right of your node tree header here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it shows you the time. So it should only be a couple of milliseconds. Like it shouldn't be noticeable. We don't have a manual compile anymore, so that kind of shows that we're pretty confident in it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's the button to force compile, and there's a reason it says force compile, and also it gives you a warning if you click on it. Yeah, because it basically rebuilds the entire code. So, like what I talked about a bit before, that we just get the code from every panel, because the panel actually stores the code. This button basically doesn't do that, so it rebuilds all the code.
Rebuilds everything.
We use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can still turn off compile on load in the end panel here, and if you then open a file, yeah, it won't be loaded, so you need to click that button. But
okay.
Actually, I think you can also, yeah, probably you can also update a node, just change some property on a node. That should also work. But like, just keep that on.
Yeah.
It really doesn't have
a ton of usefulness anymore,
yeah.
right? Just for the initial opening. As soon as I add something in, it's going to compile the add-on.
Right.
Okay, so let's.
I think.
When is this getting released?
Oh, the hard question.
Well, the more I break it, the more he gets to fix it. Let's say that.
There we go.
So let's try using the blend data here. So I'm going to come in and before I got way too distracted, now let's get back on task here. I want to grab in. Let's do Suzanne's location. I want to get it, and I want to be able to set it to something new. So let's go to under data. We're just going to focus on Suzanne herself. So she's going to be an object, right? And I didn't even notice that you had this here. I can search location, and this is actually kind of like.
How did you bring that pop-up up?
What was that? What was that now, Joshua?
Yeah, I was just saying that you can move the panel around.
Yeah.
You figure that out.
So objects. So I don't have anything on here.
Right, because you're not on Suzanne, you're on
because I'm not on Suzanne.
Objects.
I'm on all the objects. So if I want to do Suzanne, now I can do location. And it would show all the location properties associated with Suzanne. So I don't have to scroll through everything. I can just find whatever the Python API name is and type it into the filter.
Or actually,
every filter is unique. Oh, that's so cool. So I can do name on this one. Right?
Yep.
Oh, man. That's so sick. I love that. That's awesome. Now, is there a way to sync it up across filters? Or do I have to do a filter in every single one? I mean, I can come in here and copy and paste. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, but there's not really a reason why you would do that, because like even if you're copying a property for Suzanne right now, you will get an input on the Blender property node where you can change the name.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and copy this.
Idea.
Let's copy on. So I don't want to copy just Suzanne. I want to copy in her location. So I copy that in, and now I want to, let's just display it. So close this out, come up here. So instead on my panel, I want to just say Suzanne is at. And then for here, we'll throw in for the label. So this is where I use the new shortcut that Serpens has.
Yeah, so you can add a Blender property node manually, and
Shift
then
V, or I
Shift V
can
by default. Yeah.
So adding it manually, it's under properties and then Blender property.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I just hit paste property, right?
Paste that in.
And then when I plug this into here, or I actually plug this value in, see what happens.
Right. So this is the actual value, and this is the actual property. So if you want to display the property, you can't do it with the value output, so the second output on that node, because that's actually just this like this tuple, the couple of numbers.
Yeah, it's the vector 3 basically, the tuple of information.
Yeah. Right, and the turquoise output, the property output, is actually a property that you can get more data from, or you can't really get more data from a location, but it could be like an object or something, and then you can plug that into something else, or you can actually display this now. So this is what you plug into the display property node, and yeah, that will display the property.
Oh, so okay, let's do that. So I can do a property, and that's under an interface, right?
Interface display property, yeah.
Let's do, where am I? Here we go. Let's just look at the difference between these two. So I don't have to do a label anymore. I have a display property, and I can plug this directly in here, right? Now I can actually change Suzanne's information.
Yep.
Oh, that's so nice.
And yeah, exactly. And the thing about the Blender property node is now that you have one output on that node. So before you would, one input on that node for the name of the object. So before, what you would do is you get the objects node, you set that to index or to name, you type in Suzanne there, and then you plug that into like a probably the display property node, where you would have to paste in the property, and now this object is on the same node that actually gets you the property. So you can type in the name here, or you can, because this is what we're calling an indexing socket, you can either have a name, an integer, or an actual property. So you can change the type on the right of that socket from name to index or to property. If you change it to property, you can actually plug in an object. So you could now use the objects node and basically do the same thing as we did with Serpens 2, where you basically just type in a name into that node, and that gives you the output for that. Or you could use the active object from here.
Let's actually go to our regular names. So active object could plug directly into this, right?
Yep. But the nice thing about having it on one node is that we can use defaults now. So if you don't plug the active object into the socket, you will see it says using active. So that's because it's actually because you're not plugging anything into it, it's taking the active object as the default. And that's also happening with scene properties. So you remember from Serpens 2, like having the scene context node all over the place.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you would need the scene output all the time, the active scene output all the time. And now you just select active scene, or you select property on here, and it will use the active scene by default.
So let's add in the custom property. This is perfect time to talk about this. So this property, let's just say, blanchsb1 is my new property. We're gonna make it a string, and it is tied to the sing. And then let's just say for here, I don't care about anything else. I want to be able to just add this node. So I can click on add node, and I get the options. Is this code done before I play with it?
It's working now, yeah.
Okay. Last time I tried to play with it, it broke. That's okay, because we're not Serpens 3 yet. We're still just beta testing. Okay, so I want to do a display property, and as soon as I plug this in, no property connected.
Right, that just gets you a display property now. You still need to plug in your property.
So my property would be this one, right?
Yep.
And as I type in values here... Oh, go ahead.
Wait, so the display property thing just replaced the interface node, right? The one that you'd usually get.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was actually named the same, but and it's yeah, you did exactly the right thing, but you can see on the scene input it says no data.
Uh-huh.
So it's actually not using the active scene, like it doesn't have a scene right now, which is weird. Let me check
It should
one
have
thing.
defaulted, right, to saying active
Yeah,
scene.
it should say using active, yeah. Let me check property. I see the problem. Well,
Oh, there it
actually, what
is. So I can fix it just by doing the old Serpens 2.0
yeah,
way.
you can still plug it in, but I think I know why. But I don't know why the objects worked. Oh no, actually I do. Yeah, okay, easy fix, but probably
Not today. This is mainly to help you find bugs, right? That's why I'm
right.
beta testing live. So this is a perfect small bug catch. It was supposed to say active scene, it doesn't, so that's okay. We'll move on. Easy enough to come in here and plug in my
And
scene and it
fixed
shows up, right? Yep. This is my node and I can type into
Hey,
it.
now we're not gonna have 100 scene context nodes.
I know, right? It's gonna be great. And you can attach it to, okay, let's change it just to see how much it's broken. Let's change from scene to let's tie it to an object.
Yeah, I know why it's happening, so that should also say, yeah. So if you look on the location node, on this node, it says objects using active, and on your custom property it says object. So that's the issue.
Okay.
Like one has the S, one doesn't. I just fixed
okay.
it, so
cool.
yeah, easy enough.
So if I were to come in from active object, I could still plug that in here though, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And I could change it. It's like this is my node for cube, and this one would say this is my node, for Suzanne, because it's tied to the object and not the scene now. Perfect. Look at that.
Man, I'm learning Python and now I'm tempted not to.
Well, that's what I love about Serpens is it teaches me what's going on with the Python code. I mean, what's even cooler now is I can turn this stuff on, and I can see what my stuff is doing, right?
Right, and you can
I actually just use Serpens as a base, and then I just manipulate the code myself.
And that's okay. I think that's actually what Serpens was also designed for. It's just to help people get things going.
Yeah, I mean it's not meant for editing the
though.
exported code.
Yeah.
Like that's one
To
thing that
edit it,
yeah, so the code generated by Serpens isn't code you would write in exactly this way. So if you like look on what code the row node generates, there's just all these properties on it. And even if like the default like you're not overwriting the Blender default, it will still add that line. And like some variable names, so we talked a bit earlier about the for loop node, which like uses this random string of characters as a variable name. You wouldn't write that.
A lot of try functions I saw. I had to.
Yeah, those don't exist anymore.
The try functions they're gone. Yeah, they're almost completely gone now. They were pretty prevalent in Serpens 2.
Wait, is this the code generated by Serpens 3?
This is the code generated by Serpens 3, yeah.
Shit, that looks much cleaner, actually.
Yeah, it's not the formatting is a bit messed up still. Yeah, I need to improve that at least for the export a bit. But you can also see these like conversion functions at the top, like enum set to string and so on, which we basically use to make it easier for you to plug different data types into other inputs. So like plugging in like what we did earlier with the name into the icon input. You see the string to icon function here.
Yeah.
So that's just some utility functions which you wouldn't write normally because you would just plug in the name or like put in the proper template.
Yeah, but instead I can plug in a name or a number and it would convert for me.
Yeah, so that's just some steps we have to take to make it easy to use in the node editor. And that's the reason why we wouldn't really recommend editing the exported code. I mean, you can, but it's going to be a bit confusing and not the way you would write it normally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can totally write scripts and put them inside your Serpens node trees. And actually, the script node, I think the run script node now allows you to use register and unregister functions. So you can just in your script write a register and an unregister function just the way you'd write scripts normally. And it will take the code from those functions and put them into the Serpens add-on register code.
So you could like define it in the script and it'll automatically just add it to the actual register and unregister function. Oh, that's cool.
Let's take a look and see. So if I did a def register and I just printed something, not that I should do this, but if I did. Right, def register, and then def unregister. It should just insert that code.
Yep, you need to. I think you have your run script node just sitting there, but you need to like plug it into.
Yeah, we'll plug it into something for sure.
Yeah,
plug it into my operator. And if I come back and compile. Let's see. Well, that's kind of weird. What is that? Let's see. Def register, and then should it have compiled already?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, maybe deselect the text file and select it again or something.
Let's go to.
Actually, like it should have just worked. So.
Try to go back and see.
Lance, is this a custom theme or is this how Serpens 3 looks?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
This is a custom theme, right?
Oh, like yeah. I built this. I built this theme. This is all my stuff. I posted it on
Nokia vibes for some reason.
Yeah, I like blue. I like blue and green. It's a lot easier on my eyes on my monitors at home, so I don't see it compiling here yet. I guess I can do a Shift R and see if it forces it.
The force force compile.
1 second.
That's fine.
Maybe we never implemented it. But I thought Finn did, but I'll have to ask him about it.
Okay, that's fine. That one might still be in work. That's not a big deal. Okay,
yeah, that's actually kind of weird that it's not.
My favorite thing is the eyedrop thing. The eye button.
This guy? Come in and select my locations?
Yeah. That's still my thing. Like across all Serpens versions.
Yeah, I like.
What the hell? That's so like convenient.
It's so nice to be able to just come and pick my context where I want things to show up. Because sometimes I don't know where things are.
Yeah. Sometimes I just use Serpens for this, just to get the location of the place.
Yep, it's so cool.
I do too.
Yeah. Just make it a separate add-on, dude. This is gonna be so useful.
Confessions of a Serpens not Serpens coder. I use Serpens to help me code my not Serpens add-ons. That's okay. That was one of the points of Serpens.
I do that.
That was part of the Serpens goal. This is to help you make your add-ons. We don't care how you do it. You just use it to help you make them.
Yep.
All right.
Actually, one thing about the auto
generator for me. It makes a skeleton for me, and I add the meat to it.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Joshua?
Yeah, one thing about the autocompiler and all of that, like the real-time aspect now is that I think it's going to be much more useful for like building quick things for a specific file. So if you're working on a specific project and you just need that feature all the time, then just add a panel in your sidebar and plug in that button, and it will load every time you load that file, and yeah, will just work. So that was also possible with Serpens 2, but it was like a lot more just stuff happening in your file in the background, and now it's a lot more like self-contained and just sort of behaves as if you have an add-on just installed for a specific blend file. So I think that's kind of nice to, yeah, as kind of a different workflow for how you use Serpens. Or maybe people already do that with Serpens too. I don't actually know.
Yeah, I don't even know all the use cases people use Serpens for, but it seems like the sky's the limit for people that come to the forums.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to add in a button real quick. And I was testing something we talked about previously. So there is no undo button for your pasting. Rather than you just come and paste whatever you want, right? So there used to be like a go back or clear. Now I can just paste operators. So if I want to go add and text, get Serpens operator, and it just changes it right on the fly.
Yeah, I don't know why we have it on the Blender property node. We don't really need it. You can also just paste over the original. Yeah, but there's none on the run operator.
Yeah, this one right here.
Yeah,
I saw that. And I was immediately looking for it here. I was like, well, where did it go? It should be here. That's okay. It doesn't really. Yes, that's what I was expecting from Serpens 2.0 style. Now the undo you said is it was an issue. So hitting undo a lot in your graph may still be a problem. Is that correct?
It might crash your Blender, yeah.
So better than undo is just if you did something, you need to do it again. Save often.
Do it again.
Yeah, do it again. Try not to undo because there's a lot going on with live compiling.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening when you change values and so on. So the undo in Blender is like the API for that is like it just doesn't work. And it's just kind of hard to get it working properly, so it doesn't.
For me, that's okay because there are other parts of the Blender API, like outside of add-on development. When I'm sculpting, I'm really wary of hitting undo when I sculpt because there are certain sculpt operations that like the undo just doesn't work, and like my mesh will turn just terrible. And so I usually, I usually say before I do big things. Yep.
Yeah.
Save before trying crazy things, right?
Yeah.
So let's.
You're still like messing with the code here, so it kind of makes sense that at some point it might actually crash Blender because you're actually messing with Blender code. But it's like in general undo should work, but just be aware that it may or may not crash sometimes.
Sure.
I always save. You know, it's part of muscle memory. I save like 10 times a second, so it's fine.
All right, so we got another bug now. So I've copied the add text and get Serpens operator. I pasted it here. Oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't actually choose it here. I didn't, did I? I don't want the add text though. I want my custom. So I have to select it from here, right?
Hey, Joshua, in Serpens 2 is the icon an integer too? In Serpens 2?
Oh God, I have no idea. It might. I think it probably is. Yeah.
It's got a red socket. Is that an integer?
No, the orange socket is just an icon socket. Actually, the colors kind of changed a bit because we adapted them to what geometry nodes is using. But
so strings are now blue. Booleans are now pink. Icons are still orange. Yay!
Yeah.
And propagators are still teal.
It's so much easier for me because I am a geometry nodes user, a heavy one actually.
That's good because Serpens is now aligning with the Blender standard. At least a standard that they're kind of still developing, but.
So the diamond sockets, are those geometry nodes too?
No, that's the we're kind of limited by Blender and what we can actually how the sockets can actually look. So we still just have the separation of diamond sockets program, round and square sockets data, and square sockets are collections or lists of data. So those are the types we have, and we don't have fields or anything. Like that's not a thing. Kind of, in a way, everything in Serpens is fields, because you're always getting you're always getting the data from that point. That's just how code works. So yeah, we don't have that
Now
concept.
I don't want to learn Python. Oh my god.
Well, I would still kind of you can learn it with Serpens. Like you can write small scripts just inside of Serpens and just like attach a script to a button.
No, like most of my add-on is scripted. Like I'm pretty much using the whole thing for like run scripts for
Right.
the whole add-on because it is pretty much scripted. It's just that I want to learn the rest of the Python
Right.
stuff, like
The annoying stuff.
creating properties and shit. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean you can just write your own add-ons, or if we get the register thing working, then do that as well.
Look at that.
Right now I'm just salvaging code from Serpens.
That's okay.
That's my game plan.
There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so I got this is new for buttons. So this is something that I'm learning on the fly. So you have to pick. Is this just the graph? So if I made another graph here.
Yeah.
Wait.
So I did graph 2.
It would make sense if it's another add-on.
It's not
Definitely the
another
graph.
add-on. It's just another graph, as far as I understand it.
But
Is that right?
there's just one add-on per blend file now, so you can't make multiple add-ons in one file.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
So
Yeah.
operator.
Like now your blend file is the add-on file.
Yep.
Right?
I want to come in here and let's do what operator do I want to do today? Select all.
Clear recursive data blocks or something. That's what I always use.
Or you know what? Here, let's have a fun one. Let's do purge orphans. I'm gonna do it from a different add-on. There you go. This is coming from PowerSave. So I'm pulling it.
Oh yeah, PowerSave. I never downloaded that.
I love
I heard
PowerSave.
People use it a lot.
I use it all the
Is it
time.
good?
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's just an easy saver. It has. I actually, all the time, I just come in here and click purge orphans. It recursively comes in and purges all my orphan data. And I work with CG Cookie collabs a lot, and I have to clear my blend file before I share it all the time. And I delete things to make my file minimized, so I use it all the time. So if I want to do that, I have to come in here to graph 2 now.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's exactly right. It's just that the name that you're selecting here is the name of the node and not the label you're putting.
That's right.
Or
And
the name you're putting in here.
that's this name here, right?
Yes. Yep.
So
So you
this
actually
is
have to go into.
this is the part that got me confused last time, as I had 2
Right.
different.
Yeah, and it is kind of confusing, and it's kind of it's kind of a bummer that we have to do it this way. Well, I mean have to, but we're
So wait, so
we
you're
decided
like
to.
restricted to it. Like you can't change it.
No, you can go into the the node panel here, in the end panel.
Yeah, I mean you can come into the. Let me go back to my Serpens. Go to
No,
graph.
I mean like the property name thing, or like in the Serpens code.
What property name?
Yeah, I think what he's saying is, like I've changed my name. So this is operator. And I'm calling this
Okay, so-
operator 2.
Yeah.
But on this graph, like you can't access it by the other name.
Yeah. Wait, so what's the point of having the name input then in that node?
Oh, that's interesting,
On
Joshua.
the-
Look at that.
Because you could like sort of like link the name to the group name, so that whatever you type in the name, it changes the name of the actual node. Wouldn't that work?
Yeah, I mean the reason why we're doing it this way is because on panels you can have no label, so you can leave that input empty, and that would become an issue. And also you can have multiple nodes with the same label, so if you just like have multiple panels with the same label or multiple operators with the same name, that just it wouldn't work for us.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah,
But
it does make sense. But so this, I don't know, maybe this is a bug. It's still
Yeah.
pulling operator 1 even though I've changed the name.
Can you click on the drop down
It's confusing though.
on the run operator node?
Come over back.
Yeah,
to
go back to the other graph and just click on the operator field here. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Can you just open up the console real quick just to check if there's anything? Yes, there's.
We did get an error. Okay. Operator 1 not found. Okay. So we are generating the error at least. That's good.
Yeah, I have to check that out.
Okay. That's okay. We'll move on. Buttons are working. So I could have sworn I saw this on the last time I was beta testing where I changed my operator and it just wasn't updating. So I think this is like it's been here since I beta tested last time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were changing the name input on the
Oh,
operator
you're right.
node.
I was changing it here, right?
Yeah.
Now, can you so here's a question. Can you make this input change that instead?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Yes. The thing about the name of the node is that it needs to be unique inside one node graph.
Oh, okay.
So there can't be two nodes with the same name.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing sort of comes from what you're going to experience now as well, because we now have pointer properties.
Yep, pointer properties are.
It's that you can only select some types of data as pointers, and nodes aren't one of them. Which makes it really annoying because we have to use string properties to point to the names of the nodes. And it basically means that we need to create a separate collection of all the nodes of one specific type to only display the operator nodes in this input. Yeah, and we're using the names. I guess we could use some other property, but that wouldn't work for the panels, so it's kind of, yeah, it's just kind of a mess.
You're between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah. Kind of annoying. People have been complaining about that for a long time, that there's just like no pointer property or equivalent of a pointer property for other data types. So yeah, like the thing you have in the attached to field, when you create a property, like those are the data types you can actually point to, and everything else just not possible.
Yeah, so if I go to my pointer, let's grab a pointer just to explain pointers a little bit. So this is going to be in the context, right?
Yeah.
Context,
yeah,
those are pointer properties. Like these are most often
just
pointer properties.
copy the active object.
So copy this, and I'm just going to put it on a display property. Is a display property a good one to use for that?
Sure, just press Shift V and
Shift V. There we go. Active object. So it's pulling it off of that blend data that I copied, and Shift V is just an easy paste. I could also do the same thing by doing Shift A, properties, blender property, and paste. It's going to do the same thing.
Yep. So Shift V is the shortcut.
It's the new shortcut with Serpens that comes when I come back here. It's one of the new shortcuts that they've added.
Cool. Does it work with everything else, like properties and?
It's specifically for the blend data. So when you're copying from here,
okay.
It will bring the latest copied one. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So if here's another bug testing opportunity. So I'm going to do add mesh plane. I'm going to copy this operator or get this operator. If I do Shift V, is it going to break that code?
Nope.
Oh, good.
Believe it or not, we thought about it. No,
awesome.
You can, like, if you have a Blender data path copied, it will paste it in. Otherwise, it will just add the node.
Okay, cool. I'm okay with that. Now, here's a question.
That's cool.
If you get property, this may be asking too much. If I did get Serpens operator, if I did Shift V, could it be context? Like it would do a.
I mean, it adds the node for when you have an operator copied.
Yeah.
Well,
but then you have to pick whether you want it display or whether you want an execute.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
This one's a lot easier. I think I'm okay with this.
Yeah, maybe we can expand it
This
at some
makes
point.
more
But
sense.
Okay, so
Wait,
now I want to
what new
now I want a
nodes
display
did you add,
property.
actually?
Let's go to display property because pointers are new.
Yeah, a whole new data type, right? Or
property type. I mean, we had
property
yeah, we
type,
kind of
yeah.
summed all of these properties and so on up in blend data. And now we have properties and collection properties, which are kind of the two types.
You should add a try node.
Yeah, I mean, if we add a try node, we need an accept node, so.
That's the best part about
like-
Serpens, though, is you can code in your own package. You could make your own try node.
Sure.
Wait,
could do
really?
that.
We
Yeah.
can? I didn't know that.
Yeah, packages are.
We have a whole documentation for
Yeah, they have documentation on
that
making your own
documentation is
packages.
done.
I've done one package.
You need
You can actually
to
click on
be
that.
a
That one is
Python expert to
completed.
do it.
It takes an advanced user to make a package. I will say that it's not
Okay,
as
not
easy as
for
adding
me
nodes.
then.
I mean, if you want to click on that, oh, actually, there's no documentation. Oh, no, there's.
Can we
If
use
you click on
Serpens to
the
make a package?
extensions, in the little question mark icon.
Oh, here, check this out, Joshua. Here's another fun one. Get packages takes me to the to the blend data
Oh
window.
yeah, because it just opens the preferences. Yeah.
So that's not a terrible bug, but that's just, hey, FYI. I don't know if that is worth fixing or not.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay,
Can't you put like all of those outputs into a single node, like the try, accept, and I forgot what the other ones are. Else and finally, I think I forgot. I'm not a coder.
Yeah. I mean that would work. I think it's kind of I mean, generally try accept is kind of a bad practice in most cases. Like there are use cases for it where it actually makes sense to use, but
I think it checks if you get an error or not, and then
yeah. It just like if an error happens in the try part, then it runs the accept part. But yeah, I mean we could add it. I think it might be better to just teach people to write their code properly or like place their nodes properly to not throw errors.
That makes sense.
Okay, so I've got this pointer property that I'm trying to put onto the display property.
Yes.
How do I get it to show up? Am I generating errors in my console? Let's unplug it and plug it back in.
There was an error, I think, for.
Imagine getting an error and not giving a shit. That does sound like bad practice.
Temp Serpens 111. So property not found. Context active object.
Context. Okay, so that's the point where you use the debug nodes thing.
All right, so debug nodes. Okay, I go to my script. Is that right?
Oh, I mean, meant just like in the editor, in the node editor, just like enable debug nodes so you can see the code.
Oh.
Well, it crashed.
It's because I got my console activated. If I just hit escape on here, it'll go away. I found that one out when I was troubleshooting one day.
Wait, what? Wait, how did you do that?
So if you come in here and you highlight text in your console, and then you try to do stuff into the console, Blender thinks that you're actively working in the console. So like it'll freeze and the program will just wait for the console to finish whatever it's doing. All I have to do is come in here and I think I can just hit escape. Yeah, and it updates itself. So I've actually crashed Blender. Oh, maybe I did crash Blender. No, that's good. My lo-fi just stopped playing. That's all right. So if I turn on my debug nodes, let me close this out.
Okay, so maybe you just can't display the active object like that. That could be. The error is like really weird. I don't know why it says context like property not found.
epi.context active object text equals active object.
Yeah, yep. the code is correct. Maybe you just can't display the active object. That could very well be. Like you can't display all pointers. I thought active object would work.
It doesn't make sense. How would you Would it just use the object selector and show the active object? Like, I don't think that makes sense.
Let's
I
do.
mean, the easiest thing is probably the if you go to the scene, like actually not in the Blend Data browser because the right-click menu still exists, and I would use that if it's easier. So if you go to the I think the scene tab is in properties, in the properties panel.
Okay.
Or maybe this one could work as well.
Let's go to scene. We do like the active camera.
And yeah, exactly. I was going for, yeah. So just like copy that into a Blender property.
Oh man, Shift V will paste it too. That's so cool.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, and if you plug in that camera, that should now show up. There you go.
Ooh, wait, did you just get the camera into this?
Yeah, so now I've got my, so if I had multiple cameras into my scene, so I come in here and why don't we just, rather than hitting the add button, let's just make another button for it. So come in here, added my button.
Add infinite cameras.
And we will clean up my panel just a little bit.
Control Z.
There we go.
No.
So add camera. So if I want to add like, I don't know, 4 or 5 cameras, my pointer property updates with them. And it will update the scene camera while it's here. So this is the power of pointer properties. Like this isn't just a property that I have to go and assign with something. This is actually pointing to the scene's active camera. bpy data scenes is the name of the camera, but the actual, what the heck is the Python code for this? Like this is the display code. This isn't even the pointer property. Pointer properties are weird.
Wait, what is the what do you call it? Camera 1 render background? What is that?
Oh, it's just a name.
Inactive object.
It's just it's a camera that I have in my cameras.
Oh right, it's an actual camera. Okay, that was
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, so if I come in here and I can see that camera, or I can change to a different camera, right? Camera 5, and then I can move camera 5 around. I could do a select the scene's camera with a button. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so that explains pointer properties. So if it's something that you can point at already in Blender, like the background scene, then you should be able to Shift V. Oh crap! You guys, so did Blender 3.1 solve the instant connect? Because it was broken in 3.0.
Yeah.
You guys didn't change anything, right? That was a
no,
Blender.
that's just a Blender bug. Yeah.
Okay, Blender fixed that bug. They made more bugs while they fixed this one, but it's not just
life.
yeah, it's not just Serpens. Everybody makes bugs, even Blender. So now I've got
The accused Serpens.
now I've got background scene, right?
Okay.
So now I can select my background scenes. I don't have more than my regular scene, but I could do multiple scenes, so a new scene, and I could select different background scenes now. So pointer properties are new to Serpens 3.0. This isn't something that you could do. I don't think this was. I mean, I think you could hack it in Serpens 2, but it wasn't available like this, right, Joshua?
Yeah, you could probably like assign it to a variable or something, and then actually, no, I think you would have to use a script line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I would use script lines to access my pointers before.
Yeah.
And the script line was not that easy. Like I couldn't just look at this bpy data scenes. I had to go and find the code that was associated with the display. So they've made that process a lot easier in Serpens 3.
Actually, one thing that's also useful for this like whole script line thing, if you still need to use them, there's a get data script line now. So that so basically the whole process that you had to do before of creating a variable, then running a script line to assign a value to that variable, and then getting the data from that variable is now in one node.
Then
so
Python?
Under Python, there should be a get data
that's
script line.
sick, actually.
Okay,
so you can just
let's do an example of
your
this.
line of code. Yep.
So what's a good example use case? Just something simple for this one.
You can use the actually, yeah, let's just use like the object name or something. So
bpy dot, what would it be?
bpy.context.object.name.
So the active object, and then its name, right?
Yeah.
And
And then
then
you have
should
this
it be-
data output where you can choose the type of data that you're getting. And yeah, it will change it automatically if you connect it to something, but yeah,
oh,
that's a
cool. So
string.
if I changed it here, it would it
Yeah,
update?
only if it's set to data. So only if you haven't selected anything yet and it's still on data and then you connect it up. Yep, it changed right back. So if you disconnect it and then change it to data.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't stay on data. It reconnects.
Yeah,
Okay,
because,
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, right.
That's cool. So it gives you the data of whatever you enter in there, basically.
But
Yep.
how, like I'm accessing the name. How is the output? Like this one is string, right?
Yeah, it's an
The
enum.
name's a string, right?
A string.
So if I was accessing, let's just say a Boolean, how does that tie with this? It doesn't, right?
Right, so you would have to change it to string. You can now change the output to string, that should work. Yeah, so now it can convert the string to a Boolean. But you need
How
to
would
tell
that
it that you're
work,
actually outputting a string so it can convert it properly. If you're telling it that you're outputting a Boolean, it thinks it doesn't need to convert it because you're telling it the name is a Boolean and that just won't work. So you need to tell it the output is a string and then you can plug it in whatever you want and it will convert it automatically.
Okay.
Wait, but how would you convert a string to a Boolean then?
There
How would
is
that
code
work?
for that, I think.
Yeah, I mean we just do like if the string is empty, then it's false. If there's something in the string, then it's true.
Oh, so it checks the length then, basically.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
let's
I
do.
see.
Did
Should be active underscore object, should it not? Or
keep eye contact. Let's see what the console says. Did I break it?
wait, let me.
Runtime. Oh, you don't have an active object.
That's right. I deleted my object. Oh, I'm in a different scene. I need to go back to my regular scene.
There you go.
My background scene and.
Does it work?
Yep, render plane 2. It says it on the button.
Ooh. So if I wanted to change the emboss, so I'll go to my active
How's the
object
code so
Suzanne.
simple for that? The active object? I remember I need to get the active object and I had to do some view layer thing to get it.
Oh yeah, that's for setting the active object. So you can get the active object just with the context.object or .active object, but to set it, you need to go over the view layer because there's a different active object per view layer.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
You actually probably can display that one. So if you go to your view layer and copy the active object from there, then you can probably display it as well as a pointer property.
So before I move on to that one. So let's say I did want to see the emboss, like if this had values in it, do I have to do a conversion after I output from here? Or should it automatically be a Boolean?
Yeah, you need to output it as a string.
Okay.
So that you can, so now, there you go.
Okay, so now if I change Suzanne's name to blank.
Yeah, that probably doesn't work.
Oh, it won't let me do that, will it? Okay, we can move on.
Yeah.
But if it was blank, it would make the embossing go away, right?
Right.
There's a bug. Joshua, there's a bug. It's not working.
That's
Joshua, it's not working. Fix your code.
It's a blended
Why is
fix.
it not working?
This is not Joshua's fault. Okay, what are we talking about? We're going to go on to the next topic. What were you guys saying? Add in a...
Yeah, so I was just saying that like if you go to the Blend Data browser and you go to your active view layer, so somewhere here should be view layer. Yeah, at the bottom there.
Is it, context?
It's one of the last.
DPY?
It's
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Oh, here we go. View layer, okay.
DPY.context.view
under
objects.active. That's
if I
the...
expand objects here and copy this active object. So this is the active object for that particular view layer, and you can probably display that pointer property. I hope at least, otherwise, well.
Let's try. Let's see what happens. So A, and then we go to our interface and the display property. Just steal this one.
Yep, there you go.
Wow.
So you can actually select the active object now in this dropdown.
Is it actually setting the active object?
It's setting it
Okay,
active, but it's
the-
not selecting it because that's a separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a separate operation, isn't it? So like render plane is
What's the
over
code
here.
for-
It's active.
Yeah.
So if I go up to
How do you
my
select an object, like in the, like, you know, highlighted in the, you know, outliner?
so let's
So-
cover that then. Let's do the selecting as well.
Yeah.
So for my operator, let's instead of doing a run operator, let's do select object. So if I execute, so normally it would be off of the object, right? So I could use, can I still use this active object here, or do I have to pull it in from the blend data?
You won't. You don't actually need it. So the select is a function on the object.
Oh, it's off of here, right?
Yeah, but you like that concept doesn't exist anymore. Like this
Oh,
getting data
man.
off of another thing. Like that's
Yeah, how do we do that now?
doesn't exist anymore.
Let's cover
So
that.
the functions are also in the blend data browser. So you go to your object on there. You could do your active object. I don't know if you want to, whatever object you want to select. You could also go to data.
Okay, let's go to data.
Yeah, data objects, then just go to one of the objects. Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
And then I can
And then
sort by
filter this
function.
to the function. Yep. And then there should be a select.
Select set.
Yep. Just copy this one. And I don't know if you can use Shift V with this. I can
Ooh,
actually.
it did work.
Oh, you can.
Shift V. Yeah. Yeah, it totally
Right.
shows up. Well, that's kind of weird. That was
You
weird.
can move it around.
Well, I dropped it and then I tried to pan and it was like stuck to the node almost. I don't know if that was a.
There you go again.
That's a Blender thing though. I don't think that's Serpens.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
Probably not.
I'm activating
Yeah, it's
my
probably a
my
thing.
offset. Strange. Shift V. Okay. So it comes in and I can execute. Oh, wrong one. I'm on my operator. Let's turn off my node stuff.
Right, so the same thing that applies to the Blender property node also applies to this node. It's actually called the run property function. If you wanted to paste it in manually. So you also get these inputs here on the node. So you have this objects input, and in the objects input you can choose if you want to index it with a name, an integer as the index, or plug in an object right away. You can see this one is now using the active object, so you would be setting the active object, or you could you would be selecting the active object.
I could do that too though, right?
Sure, that would also work.
But I would still have to call the operator with a button.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all I have to do is tie that button. So come here, go to custom, select my new add-on. Hopefully this operator one still exists. Did I rename this guy? May need to remake the operator just because that might still be one of those bugs that I found. We'll see. We'll just add in a new operator real quick. Execute and clear. Operator measuring SN a.my operator.
Wait, let me actually just take a look at the error above that. Property atom data button. Yeah.
You want me to copy any of this and paste it, or are you good?
Oh, I think I might know where the issue is coming from.
Okay.
No, you don't need to copy anything. Let me see how could you fix this? Okay, so maybe just deleting the operator and the button. The button shouldn't really have anything to do with it.
You can try deleting the button. That's not a
Wait,
big deal.
can I report bugs too? I'm interested.
If you have any? I mean, for
I don't know.
Serpens 3.
Yeah, for Serpens 3.
Yeah, I mean we're kind of getting to a point where it's pretty much done. Like it seems like there's still some minor issues. We'll probably have like a release candidate of some sort out before we actually release the like Serpens 3 properly.
Could you let me
just
know? I want to like test it.
yeah. I mean we have to see how it goes. Like
That is a good idea.
we're getting to the end, but just because it's basically a rewrite, there will still be issues, and there will be issues that we can't find in a couple of hours when we're not actually building a full thing. So yeah.
Let's go to custom. To add on an operator. Does it show up now? My button! Okay. So I did a couple of things, just to tell you what I did. I deleted the operator, I deleted the button, I added an operator back in, but I threw an audible where you didn't tell me to do this. I hit Shift-R and recompiled. And then I added my button again. So I don't know what of those things fixed the problem, but it's back now.
Yeah, it was the Shift-R.
Okay.
Pretty sure it was that. Actually, you could try renaming the node. The operator node, yeah, exactly.
Operator blanchsb.
Did it update in the button?
It did not update in the button.
So
I probably got a console error too. Oh no! I accidentally deleted my console error. Hold on. Let's rename. Just B2. And did I generate an error? No, I didn't generate an error. It just didn't update either. I definitely generated one there, right? Hey, that's not found. So hit error. New add-on. So can I Shift-R recompile and does it show up? No.
Probably not, yeah.
So if I delete the button and Shift-R and recompile and add the button back in.
You probably have to delete the operator, then Shift-R, and then it will show, but we can check.
Let's delete the button. And deleting the button may have been the trick. Set in, or deleting the operator, sorry. Oh, I need to probably tie it in, don't I? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why that didn't work before. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it seems like the updating is broken a bit, but that should be fairly
okay,
easy
so if I come over here and I
Anyway.
do my new, let's go to render plane. And I hit my button. Object required parameter state not selected.
Enable that by default. Yeah, so on the
I need to
select
go now,
set
guys.
here.
Okay.
Let's try that again. Sounds good, man. See you, Artio Fraz.
Right.
Yeah, see Blanche and Joshua.
All right, so let's try the button. There we go. Yep, yeah, Blanche SP,
Bye.
Sean.
Bye.
See ya. So that works.
Done.
All I had to
Okay,
do was
bye.
all I had to do was turn that on in order to get it to run.
Yeah, so there are, I guess, some parameters that are required. We could probably turn those on by default. Let me make a note of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're just turning off all by default right now, so you don't have the thing where you set stuff that doesn't work and so on.
Yeah, so the setting before where you had like 20 things and you were setting them all. I do like that you're turning them off by default. That's nice. I understand how it works, but I would say it's probably one of the more common Serpens questions in the forum is, why is this not working? So, well, you're setting everything to 0 besides what you want to set.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't exist anymore, thanks to not having a set data node. But yeah, it still kind of exists on like operators and so on.
Yeah, with stuff like
And
this, it's
we
still
just
going to do it.
turn
Right.
stuff off here.
So all functions that I want to run, they're all going to be found now in the blend data, as opposed to like set data doesn't exist anymore. So I would do this. I would do the rung functions here, right?
Right. So if you wanted to like create a new material, you would go to your materials here, and then there's a new function on those materials, or like remove a material or something. Then
so materials would have its own set of functions. Here we go. New, remove, and this is different.
Yeah, so
This is different than, I think this is more just if anybody is still watching my YouTube video. If I were to go to my shading tab, this is much different than me copying the new material here, right? This is an operator. This is a function. Correct?
Yep. So this will actually give you the material as an output on the run function node.
And I can shift V. Let's just do that for fun. We'll do it in series.
Yeah, and you probably need to enable that name input as well.
And I can feed it, blanchsb material. And then I can get information off of that material. So let's say I was building a new material and I hadn't actually made it yet. I was planning on making a new one. And I wanted to access more data on it, but it's still not made yet. How would I go about doing that? Like, I want to access more property information. Do I just go off of a named one?
Right, you just go over like a different material, one that's named. So you, you have some sort of reference to it. So this material here, and then you can, just get something off of that, like the, I don't know, the name or something.
Let's see.
I guess we know the name, but.
Materials, so material, and then I have these properties. Let's just say I want to change, let's do name. And I would shift V, and I could change this to property, right? And I could feed in this here, and it would know that I want the name.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. And then I could come in and do more things off of the name. Like if I wanted to rename the material as the next step.
You could use a set property and plug in that name in there.
So the set property is going to be in here, right?
Yeah.
And I would set this, and then I set the value.
Mm-hmm. And you would need to change that input type there to a string. Actually, you don't. No, you actually don't. You just need to change it if you want to type in something on the node. But because it accepts any type of data, for a data input, you don't need to change the type. For data output, you do.
Okay, so for data input, it should accept it as long as it's set to data, right? It will accept any of these.
Yeah, it will just not convert it to, like if you plug in a Boolean or something, it will try to set the name to a Boolean.
All right, so let's try this out. So we'll do my button, click it.
You need to connect the execute.
Oh, thank you. New mistakes. Here we go. I come back to my shading tab, and I should see new material, blanchsb new mat. When I haven't assigned it, I just made a new one. So then I could go in and assign the material as the active material for the object, right? And that would be a context?
Well, depends on where, like what object you want. So if you want the active object, then you would go over the context. If you want a specific object, like a named object or something, then you would go over data.
Let's say I wanted to change like I'm on my object and I wanted to give it this material. It doesn't matter which object it is, but let's just say I'm on the active object.
Active object.
Yeah.
Right. Then you would go to context, active object,
and then
that should have a
material. Probably is active object. Am I on context? Yeah, I'm on context.
Yeah. So you might need to reload that because you probably opened that a while ago and you might have a different different active object now. So
I have to exit or just click the reload button?
Just click that reload button. That should take care of it.
Okay. So if I'm here,
Or
reload.
maybe should work. Yeah, so you have the
active
material
material,
slots
there we
there
go.
and the active material in there.
Okay.
I don't know if you can set that, but you can try.
Should be a function on here. Or maybe not.
Yeah, I mean that's the actual material. So the active material is a material, so the functions on that will be run on that material and not for the object. If there was a function, it would be on the object itself.
So if I want to assign that active material, do I just copy it as active material?
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible, but you can try.
Okay.
Just copy that and into
Shift V.
Blender property into set property.
And then I can do on set property. Just like that.
Mm-hmm. And then as the input, you now want a property because you're setting the material to that other material. So you would change the value here to a property input or the data input. And then you plug a new material here.
So I would do, I don't want act, okay. So
this active material is the property that represents the active material on your active object. And you want to set that active material to a different material, to the one you just created.
Sure. And can I reference this blend data that I already created?
Yep. Okay. Yeah. And this is where you can use portals again, but
yeah. So portals. Let's bring portals in. Might as well try it while we're debugging.
Let's try this. Let's try it without portals first.
Okay, let's try it without portals. Let's see if it works.
I'm not sure if you can set the active material like this.
Let's see. So shader editor, and I've got my material here for my render plane. I just be new mat. Sweet.
Nice. All right.
So
then we can use portals again.
So I'm going to move it to something else. Go back to material and let's make a portal. So portals are going to be found under tools.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got the lo-fi node back. That's awesome. All right. And portals look different too. Look at that.
Yeah. So the color is basically just like to look nice now.
Okay,
not
so
actually
it's not
using the color anymore. It's using the string you see.
Okay, and I can change the string if I want.
Yep. So you can just, if you copy this node to, just copy this node, and then change it to out. Then you will get an output portal. And if you change the name on this on your input, it should also update here. So if you name it like active material
that's
or something.
Cool.
Yeah, and you should also be able to change the color on that. It should update on the outputs as well.
So if I do output on this one and change this back, if I hit backspace, GGG. Yeah, they still all update.
Yep.
Now if I change the color, they should all change. Oh, nice.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the idea is that you can actually give these useful names now. At that point, you can just collapse them. So if you just minimize the output nodes, you should just see the name.
Right.
Yeah, and the color. So it's I think it's a nicer way to have them because they're very small now.
Yeah,
they don't have any inputs and so on. So
that's so cool. I will tell you, my workflow with Serpens 2.0. I made a portal and I instantly went and made an input and output together. I would select them both and then I made a helper node. I hit a shortcut key and I'd do a rename and it would rename all my selected to give my portals a name. This is way better. That's a big improvement. I love that. And what's cool is you can rename it here and it renames both.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I love that. Now, they're still only tied to this graph, right? So I can't...
No, you can actually use them across node trees now.
No way. I could go to graph 2 and grab it? So
you can't, because this only exists inside the operator.
Okay.
Because you're creating this material, and then it exists, the reference to that material exists inside this
agreed.
way,
Yeah.
and then after that
In
it's
this
gone.
case, I wouldn't be able to do it, right? Because it's inside
Right.
of a function. But if I did something like my active object, so I could do
Yeah.
this to a portal. This is a better use
Sure.
case. I'm sorry, I'm doing a bad example.
I mean, it's luckily it's not anymore because we're now choosing the active object automatically. Like you don't even need to plug it in usually.
You're saying this is a bad
So
example too.
no, it's a great example for kind of transitioning from Serpens 2.
Yeah.
It's just we kind of added that, like made it easier and then got rid of the use
Sure.
case. So
So let's say I wanted a
yeah.
node group or something. Here, this is a better
that's
use case. Here we go.
There we go.
So I have some index node group and I'm indexing, whatever number. And I bring it in here and I can say, my favorite node group or whatever I wanted to call it. But then from then on, all I have to do is come and find this guy and just duplicate him. Or I guess I copy him.
Duplicate it, set it to output, and then it should work.
So if I come in back to my new add-on graph and I change this to group 2, I go to my other graph. Oh, that's so cool. And it would access the data. So we're no longer limited on the graph with portals. That's such an improvement. Oh, I can see all the possibilities. This is going to be great. Okay, so before I let you go, I have one more thing I'd like to cover. These dynamic properties. So I think we probably ought to start fresh. I have never used a dynamic property. I've used one outside of Serpens, and I'll be honest, I kind of got lost in the tutorial. So I'm not overly great with them, but can we do
when you say dynamic property, do you mean like an enum or like a collection property?
Yeah, I better first ask the question, can I do this in Serpens? Sure. I want two ideas that I had. Like I want to keep track of where the viewport camera is. So let's say I had it here and I was off working over here on something and I wanted to easily go back to this location. So I wanted to be able to store the location on the display and then click on it and it says okay, and then by select.
Right, so you want one button for storing the location, one button for setting it back.
That's right. And then I want to be able to store the location over here as well as a separate
multiple locations.
Multiple. Serpens can now have that functionality, right?
Yep, you can.
Sweet. So we don't have to do that example, but maybe there's a simpler example that we can at least show in my beta testing.
I mean, yeah, I think we can do that. So collections are just kind of complicated because you need a couple of things to like just get started with them. But they're still fairly simple to do. So we can do your example if you want.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and go through the process. And I'm gonna be the noob, so you're gonna have to give me a little bit of guidance because I've never used this part of Serpens yet.
Yep, sure. So yeah, let's just create a collection property then.
Okay, so we go into properties and I hit a new property and I change the type to collection.
Yep.
And then I want this to store a. Let's see. I'm attaching it to the scene.
So you still want to attach it to the scene,
yep,
but you see the error at the bottom. There's no property group selected, and that's because every collection property or pointer property, actually let's stay with collections. Every collection property needs to reference a group property. So when you create a collection property, you also want to create a group property.
Okay, so I need to make two then, right? So this is my save use collection, and I need to make a property group as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what would be a good name for this? Like just view?
Yeah, so like this will store all the information you want to keep track of for one particular view. So you'd probably want to give this a name and store the actual location.
Okay, so view, let's say view location maybe?
Yep, sure.
Okay. And I don't know the difference between a property collection and a property group. Do you have an easy explanation for that?
Yeah, so a property group is basically just a bunch of different properties grouped into one thing.
Okay.
So if you
So this
if you have
this properties here is like a property group, right? Like I can make a whole bunch of properties built into this, or is it not quite the same?
that's a collection. That's a
Okay,
collection
that's a
because you
collection.
can you can add multiple items to this, but then every item of this collection, so every property has a bunch of properties. So in our case, it's like the name of your property, the type of your property, and so on. And those are all properties that are then in this group. So yeah, you could like put in a name here. Yeah, and change this to probably a float vector.
Yeah. So float vector 3 would be locations, right? And is vector. Yep.
Yeah, so that would be the view, and then you could make another property in here to give it a name or something.
And I could do. I wouldn't have to match the same data type, right? I could have a group of different
you can
things,
have
like
whatever properties you want. So actually, one common use case for a property group is to store add-on settings in one place, because like this way, the way it was with Serpens 2 at least, you would just create a bunch of properties here, and those were all settings for your add-on, but they were just kind of all attached to the scene. And the way you should do it is like make one settings property group, like add-on settings property group. Make all the properties for those add-on settings in this group, and then make a pointer property referencing this group property and attach that to the scene. This way you have one property on the scene named like your add-on settings, and then this property references the group, which has all the different settings. So this way it's just kind of nested a bit nicer, and like you're not filling up the scene with properties. You're kind of neatly placing them in one group.
Okay, cool. I want to cover that. I may try that on my own, doing the like add-on preferences properties on another beta testing. Let's keep going with this one though. So I kind of understand property groups now. So I'm going to just leave the one initial view. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can add more later.
And then, so I've got my property group. Now I have my collection and I have to select it, right? So this is view location.
Yep.
And then...
Right, so now you have your collection property, and this is what you want to display in your panel. So
add node and display property?
Yes, yeah. Actually, we can try that. But yeah, there's a different node for that, but let's just go with this one. Yeah, so you want the property.
Okay, so grab our property. And I need to plug in the scene for now because this is not updating. That's not a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Just do my active scene. And then I do the property here. Is that how that works?
Yep. Right, and so on this node you now see like there's two blend data outputs, so that's like a little bit confusing. But the top output is always the actual property. Like this is the thing you're always going to be displaying, and the bottom one is the actual data. In most cases, this will actually be the same.
Okay.
But yeah, like in this case, you can see it's a square output at the bottom and a round output at the top. Square output because it's a collection. It's like the actual value is a collection, but the thing you're referencing, like it's still a property of some kind.
Okay.
So this top one will always be a round output.
Okay. And then do I have to say from property group?
No, that would be, we'll get to that later actually.
Okay.
So yeah, so in your panel you see 0 items, and that's because Blender, if you just use the display property node, it will just display like the amount of items. That's not really too useful.
Okay.
So you can use a different node. It's called something with collection, I think collection list or something. It's an interface somewhere. Display collection list, yeah.
Where am I at? Display collection list. There we go.
In the middle of
there we go. Okay, so change it from here to here, and I would plug in the value instead.
Either one. Like it makes sense to plug in the property because that's as I said, like the actual reference to the property. In this case, both outputs will have the same code. So if you would enable debug sockets, like both have the same code, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, like generally, if you're referencing a blend data in some way, just use the top output, property output.
Okay.
And if you want to get the actual value, then use the bottom one.
Okay, so I need to plug into the square or into the circle?
Yeah, so if you turn debug sockets back off.
Debug sockets off.
Yes, you see the top one is your collection property. So this is the one, this is the collection property we just got here, so save use. So plug that into there.
And I've got no property connected on my...
Right, because you still have the second property here, the second property input on the display collection list node. So this is an index property. So because we're displaying a list, like the same way you see in the properties panel where you created multiple properties, you need to keep track of the active, like the one that's actually selected.
Okay.
And we do this with just an integer property. So yeah, you need to create an integer property, name that like selected view or something. Yeah, and this is the property that will actually tell you which one is selected. So it will just give you the index of the selected one.
All right, so we're going to go integer, selected view, and default value of 0. Does that make sense?
Yep, if there's nothing, like no item in your collection, it will just be some random value. And you need to make sure that there's actually a value with that index if you're trying to access it. But yeah, just plug that into the index property. And it should have worked. So let's see why it didn't.
Look at our console. Expected a collection property.
Yes. Well, why isn't it a collection property?
Draw my console a little bit to try to see both windows.
Oh. Okay, so it looks like there was some kind of bug. I don't know how it happened, but you see on the selected view node, the value output is now an integer socket. Like the top property node, the select.
Oh, yes.
It's both selected view actually.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
remake this one maybe?
Or just like select save views again.
Oh, you know what? This changed to select view also.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. But
okay, save views. Okay. Let's try this again.
Right, there you go. So
hey, look at that.
There we go.
Okay, so how I did that, let's try to recreate that bug. So I went to selected view, add node property. And when I connected it here.
Yeah, same one. I don't know.
That's strange.
Yeah, can probably go back in the recording and check.
Yep, I can, well, I'll save this to YouTube and I can tell you the timestamp.
Yeah.
Okay, so we definitely have, let me go back and connect this in. We've got something, right? This is, I'm used to seeing this. This looks just like your properties, variables, such and such. So
now you have you're displaying your collection property. You're just like there's nothing in it yet.
Sure.
So we need to add a button to add an item to it.
So I would do that on item row?
Yeah, let's get to that in a second. So
okay.
This will be for displaying the individual items in your in this list. So we just want to basically make an operator now, which will let us add an item to our collection.
Okay. So under program operator, and I want to change the name up here then, right?
Yeah, you can change that name and
so add view.
Operator, it doesn't really matter. Sure. Right, and now there's a node for adding an item to the collection. I have no idea what it's called. Hopefully something like add item to collection. It's probably under properties.
Okay, properties, add collection item. How about that?
There we go. All right, so yeah, you connect that up,
and then I have to grab my
Collection property, yeah.
The view, this one, right?
The collection, yeah.
Okay, so I grab an add node property. And it doesn't matter which one I plug in, so I can just plug in that one.
Yep, and we need the scene again because that's broken.
Oh, yep, add the scene. We'll make a, here, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make a portal. I love portals. It's my favorite thing. We'll say scene. Plug this guy in. Go output, and we'll just output them both here. You can be over here off on your own. Okay.
There you go.
And then when when I add a new one, so this is making the operator. Now we need to make a button, right?
Yep, right. Add a button to your panel there to show it.
Will it find my operator, or do I have to leave it?
Yeah,
as
so
the
you
same
connected it to the item row output. You need to connect it to the panel. So we get into the item row in a second, and it will be obvious, but
okay. So connect it here instead.
Just connect it to the panel. Yep.
Okay. Oh, because okay. I think I understand. It's going to be below, right? Out of view.
Yeah. Maybe we still have that bug with the.
We have that bug.
operator.
I'm gonna have to delete the operator. I think I can recompile now. Okay. Now I'm just gonna add in a blank operator because we've only got one. I was hoping to see if I could rename it before I added the button, but it doesn't seem like it cared. Okay. So my button, and I can give it add view. Right.
Right, and you could style it the way like Blender usually displays these lists. So you would add a row, add a column next to that row, and then place the button in there with the plus icon and no text, no label, and then it would look the same as it does on, as it usually does in Blender.
So the row would have to have this one first, and then this one second, right? And then I do a column. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you add a remove button later on, then you would want a column as well.
Yep. So we'll get rid of the label. We can come into my scripting workspace, enable dev, and look for my plus icon. Or actually, I can just do it.
You can just do it on a node.
I can do it on the node. That's right. I keep forgetting how easy this is.
I think it's called add.
Add. There you go. Sweet. And then we'll just, not that it does anything, but we'll add in another button and make this one subtract, right?
Remove.
Cool. And then up and down would change the index. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's a move collection item node as well.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I can worry about. I think that part's fairly easy. We'll just worry about the add and subtract. This doesn't do anything, but that's okay.
So if you click the add button now, that should already do it.
Cool. And it made one.
So you see it's empty now, and that's where this item row input comes in. So this thing that's selected now, that's blue now, is your item row, and on the display collection list node you have this item which you're referencing. So this is the item in the collection, and you have this item row interface output which lets you display something in that in this row. So if you just add a label to that and plug in this item, you should see it.
Now, if I want to rename the item, do I need a label, or should I change it to a property instead?
Right, so you would go into your group and add a property called name. And yeah, this is the name for this specific item now.
And I can give it a default of view, and it should, Blender should handle itself, right? If you make more than one, it should give them names. Kind of like I do camera, just camera one through whatever.
No, it will be the same. There's no built-in way to do this. We have a custom function for it, and it's kind of messy.
Okay, that's fine.
But yeah,
let's go ahead and, so I don't need initial view then, do I? Or I do need initial view as well.
Yeah, you'll use that later on. Yeah. Okay, so right, let's let's just add a label for now. Or
Okay.
you can also like display the name right away if you want.
Yeah, do I just do the add node off of, let's see, not assets.
Yeah, so there's no add node button here. You need to select that manually, but fairly quick to do.
Okay, so what's the next step? I'm sorry.
Just the display property node to
Okay.
display this name.
Display property node, that's what I was looking for. Display property, there we go. And I tug it into item row. And then I
So if
use
you
item.
plug in the item now, it will actually, that won't do anything because this is the entire item. So this is basically, this item has all the data you put into your group, so all the properties you put into your group. So you now need to get the name property off of this item. So you want to use another Serpens property node, and then you can select your name property. So we need the from property group checkbox now because we're selecting a property inside a property group. Now you selected the group and then the name.
Now I can do
and you plug
this,
in
right?
your item there, plug this in here.
Do I do?
And yeah, it's empty right now. I think maybe. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to tell if it worked. I mean, the item already existed. Maybe just add another item. Just click the plus button again.
Let's see. Plus button. Am I getting console errors?
Yeah, there's probably an error on the console.
That's no attribute.
Index. Oh, draw item. That's unfortunate. Yeah, so that should have worked. Item. Euros.
I do think I'm following along at least.
Yeah.
That's good, even if it broke.
Can you just add in a label and instead of the display property, just add in a label and plug the item into this label?
Sure. Add in a interface label. And then I should be able to do, I think I can still show under properties, not Blender property, sorry. Serpens properties, it probably might still show the, I give value. Hey, look at that.
Oh, it worked now. Okay, I guess I was just, yeah, but then display property should also work. Yeah, no, that should work now. Maybe it was just something that didn't update, but I don't know.
Let's do display property and see if it, so I can do this on the next row maybe, just to see.
Yeah, it's the same row because this row is also pretty limited in what you can display in it. Like you can put an actual row node behind this and then change the scale so you have like a double the size or something, but it's
sure.
You can't put too much in it.
Let's grab a row, and from here I can do this one.
Yeah, it's in the same row, but doesn't really matter.
I guess I could have a column, right? Have them go side by side.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, and then can I throw value into here? I guess I have to put a property on it, right? So this is the part where I think it breaks. Let me clear my console. Let me go back to my blank console. Add in a doohickey and getting an index error, which is the same error, so it's at least repeating itself. Let's just say I don't care to rename it right now. We can move on.
Yeah, we can't really if this this doesn't work if you can't get the item.
So we still have a little bit of work to do with the property group on get property. Is that right? Get Blender or get Serpens property.
Yeah, I mean this should work. Can you enable debug nodes again, just to
Sure.
to check what the code is on the display collection list node?
Let's see. This one.
Yeah, it's one before that. Yeah.
Bring this guy out just so we can focus on him. Okay, so we have index, which is here. I can.
Ah, I see. Oh no, actually. Oh no, I do see the error. What the heck? Outputs item.
We're drawing items, and we have an index property that's associated with the list name, right?
Yeah, so the issue is that if you look in the column prop, so last line here, it says SNA safe use, so that's your collection property, and it says .index AC whatever. It should have square brackets because this index is just the integer.
Oh, instead of a property,
so
right?
It should index that and not have a dot here. I don't know why that is. It's actually like in the code. It seems fine in the code of this node.
Do you want me to open up
so
that node code real quick on my end to make sure it's on mine?
I mean, it should be the same. I just send it to you. Okay. Maybe enable debug sockets again to check what the output on that item output is.
Sure. Enable debug sockets.
Yeah, so that's correct.
Yeah, it's showing up there. Look at that.
So it's the property node that's breaking it.
So can I? Okay, let's try this then.
Wait, actually no, it's working. If you look at the output of the property node, that's also correct. Of the name property node, yeah, that's all correct. So it's the display property node which is breaking it. That's weird.
Oh yeah, look at that, because it was showing here. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think I maybe know why.
So can I use an interface script line node in the meantime?
Yeah.
Interface.
Sorry, can I just ask a quick question? When you have your settings in the debug, is that a new feature in 3.0?
Yep, this is all 3.0 beta stuff.
Thank you. I didn't see it before, so it's very handy. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the stream. I think we're getting close to being done wasting Joshua's time, but
you're not wasting my time. I mean, we're finding bugs here.
We're finding bugs. We're trying to sort out just this bug right here. We're doing yeah, I found the issue. We're doing a new set of property group collections, and I've never done it before, so we're playing with it.
Yeah, I've been watching for a while now. It's really interesting. It's good stuff.
Oh,
really good learning. Thank you guys.
I've got streaming turned on, so I don't know when people are coming and going. But welcome to the stream if you've been here for a while. Okay, so if I have, it's going to be under Python maybe? Interface. There we go, interface scripts line.
Yeah, so I found the issue in the code, so I can fix that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I should be able to come and, can you copy the code here?
Not from here, no, you would need to go into the exported code.
Okay. So let's zoom out on this. I'm looking for
It should be further up. No.
New add-on. This is pretty much it, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, if you go up a bit to the. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. So I should be able to grab this, right?
Yep. And then just change that to.
From label to
prop.
Yeah,
you need to change a little bit, but yeah.
I've got a little bit of expertise with the interface script line already, so. Column dot, and I'm coming off of a column, right? Yeah. So I don't need the SN layout anymore. I just grab it right off of column.
Just use the right one. Yeah.
Okay. So column.prop, and then I have to do my then I would do here to comma, and then I have to give the text of the thing I'm doing, right?
Yep.
And I want to do it off of name, don't I?
Yep, that's exactly right. This should work, I think.
Let's go back to my... Look at that, it worked. So I don't need... Forget the display property, I don't even need that.
Should just work.
It just works. It just works, Joshua. There's no bugs to fix. Just tell your users, use the interface script line, it'll be fine.
Right, just write the add-on. Just
write the add-on.
All the time.
It works though, look at that. Overcoming problems. Okay, so now I can change this to view 1 and change this one to view 2 and this one to view 3. And I can even get rid of the initial one, right? I can completely drop this off. Sweet.
Yep. And you can also, if you you can set the text to an empty string. Like you need to do all this in a script line now, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. So yeah, text to an empty string, and then also emboss to false.
Oh, I broke it. Hold on. Let's see if
You need the comma after that.
Thank you. Catching my typos live. All right, let's see. Hey, look at that. That looks exactly like I'm used to seeing other people do it.
Yep.
Oh man, this is so cool. Okay, before I proceed, I need to save. I'm surprised we haven't crashed yet. This is awesome. Okay, let's go just my
so like if you didn't need the script line here, this should be like really nice to do because it's basically just grabbing the property node, plugging in the item, and then putting it into display property, and it just kind of shows up. So yeah, it's really nice if it works. There you go.
Sorry, I muted myself. So without the interface script line, the display property would have done basically the same thing, right?
Right.
I would have had it show this in place.
Yep.
All right. Okay, we've got our properties showing. We've got the ability to change their names, and
if you add one now, it should also name it view by default.
Oh, that's so cool. Yep. And look at that. I can add another one by clicking the minus icon because I never programmed that. It's beautiful. This is the code that I want because I made it. This is awesome. So now I could go in and I could delete. I think I know pretty much how to do that. Adding
so the last thing that's kind of interesting here is how to access like the active like the thing you have selected.
Yep.
Because you're going to want to actually put in the location here. So let's just, I guess, display the location maybe below the panel.
Okay.
Or below this list here.
So we'll do it with the column. So
yeah, you might want to turn off the debug nodes again, so it's a bit nicer to look at.
Debug nodes and sockets, and we'll just add in a label, right?
Yeah, or you can actually add in a display property because of the or actually maybe maybe that will break as well.
Or will I need another interface script line? We can do an interface script line. Let's just do another one.
All right. Yeah.
And instead of save views, I won't be using name. I'll be doing the initial view.
Yeah, and there's a copy Python button on a copy Python name button on the right here, so you can get the name of that.
And I should be able to just get it from here, or do I have to do it from here?
No, just replace the name, and you will have to replace the part before that as well, and just get rid of the placeholder here.
Right there, right?
Yeah. So this would work if you're inside the this item row, but because this index only exists inside this list, you will need to actually index it with your index property that you made.
Okay, so so I need the selected view then, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to be using the selected view Python. Where's my copy? Right here?
At the top. Yep.
And I put that in here, right?
Yes. And then you just replace the scene placeholder with like bpy.context.scene.
Same as old Serpens script interface script line. Okay. And then I can pop that in.
Yeah, and you would probably want to display that after your panel. After this, yeah, because now you're displaying it in every single row. So you just like plug that in after the display, directly into your panel.
Oh, directly into my panel. Okay, okay. You're right.
Because it's now actually the active view, so the one you have selected, and not for each individual one anymore.
Not my column. I want it on my panel. Panel item.
Oh, you have column. The script line says.
Oh, you're right. It does say column. I just need it to say layout, right?
Yep.
There we go. Cool.
Right, and you could put that in a row, and also turn off emboss on that, or turn on emboss on that actually. So it looks like a normal input.
Yeah, let's do. We can do layout dot. Is it layout dot row?
You would have to create the row before. Actually, maybe you can do layout dot column and brackets. I'm actually not sure.
Let's try it. This is me just ad hocing. That one didn't work.
Yeah, you need the brackets after the column because it's the function.
I have to do brackets like that?
Yeah, column round brackets. You're calling the function.
Okay. Ooh.
That should work.
That's not bad.
Okay.
And then I need to go to full screen. My text I can say is current location.
Yep.
And emboss will set to true.
Yeah, I'll just get rid of it either way.
Or just get rid of it. We'll set it to true just because I can.
Matter.
And it's a property instead of a label, so I can actually change it. Like I can change it and it updates.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not tied to anything currently, which is fine.
It's tied to the it's the property on this item, on this collection item.
Yeah. I just meant it's not tied to my actual view. My view location.
Gotcha.
It's tied to it's tied to the one that's selected. So if I change this one to 2.6, right, it's tied back to that one. Yeah, look at that. That's cool.
So the thing is now, like if you didn't have any items, you would still try to access an item with a specific index, and that won't exist. So like usually you would just like put in a check before that, just put in an if interface node to check if an item with that index actually exists. And actually there's a node for that too. So there's a node called property exists, I think, something like that.
Property exists. Look at that.
There you go. So you can actually plug in any property pretty much into that, and it will check every part of this data path. So if you have something like bpy.data.objects square bracket Suzanne.location, then it will check if an object with the name Suzanne exists, and then it will check if location exists on, like the property location exists on that object.
Oh, it's recursive.
So it will do every single part of the path.
Oh, that's awesome. That's an improvement over Serpens 2.
Definitely, yeah. So you don't need to check every single part. You just use this node, put in an if node, and like if you could use the get property, actually you can probably use. Probably, but it's not. If we don't have the remove operator, doesn't really make sense. But
sure, this is only if I'm removing the operators, right? Or I'm removing if I'm removing all of them, we wouldn't want to display
if your index
things.
is something that is not doesn't exist anymore. Yeah.
And I've seen tutorials on that part of it. That part's not terribly hard. This stuff was really confusing me though. Right. So getting these added and then how to make things work. So I think we're right on track. Okay, so from here, when I select them, I'm updating my guy. Now I have my property that's in the end panel. Let's go to Serpens. So my selected view, and then under view location, I've got the actual view location. So I want to be able to tie my scene view to each one of these, right? When I click on.
Right. So if I got it right, if you click the add button, it should automatically fill in the location for what it is at that point, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And it would
Yes,
when I select it, it would be a separate operator where I would call and set the view to become that location. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, let's maybe do the add button because that should be pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have the item output on your add collection item node. So that's the current the item you just created.
Yep. Let's move these guys into a little more structure below.
Yeah, so you want to set a property on this item now. So let's just add the set property node.
And that is going to be under set properties. And I bring in this guy here, right?
Mm-hmm. And we want to set, well, actually now with set property and you're plugging in the item, you would be setting this item, but we want to set a property on the item. We want to set this initial view float vector here. So we need another Serpens property node to select that property in the property group.
And it is going to be under view location.
Yep.
This guy, right?
Initial field. And in here you can plug in the item now.
And
Yep,
do I plug this one in
property
here?
goes into set property. Into the property input.
Oh, this one goes into here. I'm sorry. Just like that.
Right, and then the item output of the add collection item goes into the pointer property input of the initial view. So what's basically happening is that the add collection item is returning this one item in the collection you just made, and then the initial view node here, the Serpens property node here, is referencing a property inside this group, so the initial view property, and then you're plugging in the item of that collection, which it should get this property from. So the item you just created in this case. And then the output here is this initial view property, and that is what you want to set. So that is what's going into set property.
Okay.
And the value here will be the value that you actually want to set it to. So you can change that to a float vector property, and just set it to 1 or something, just to check if that works.
Sure. Let's do that. So setting it like that, and then when I click the plus icon, I should get a view, and it should say once. Right?
It should, yes.
Did I get an error on my
so
console?
let's check why it doesn't.
Let's take a look at my console. No errors. Okay.
APY. That's actually not on.
I want to turn on my item BC746.initial view equals initial view is my property. Is a vector 3.
Seems correct. Oh, it's not. Where did we connect the set property node? The execute?
Yeah, the executes are all connected.
Oh no, this is the last node. Never mind. Because it's not in the. So if you look in the operator, under the execute function, like on the operator node, where it says dev execute, and there's just one line there. There's not the.
Oh, you're right. It didn't.
Wait, that might be. Let me check. Program. Add collection. Oh, apologies. Yep, I know why. And I don't know if there's a workaround for it without reinstalling this. Not really. It's a very simple fix, but you would have to install, install it again.
I don't mind doing that. Will I should be able to save this and load again, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let me just fix that. Okay.
This is so cool to help troubleshoot. You're like, well, we got to this point. And I can see adding afterwards. Like when I put them backwards, you can see that it comes in second.
Yeah, we're just not passing along that code for that specific node.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that you can troubleshoot it live though.
Yeah.
I like that.
Let me see if I can fix that without having to rezip this entire file. Maybe I can just send you the one file that changed.
So while you're doing that, I'm gonna go rogue here and I'm gonna add in the remove button. Let's see how well I learned.
Go fine. All right, I think that worked. So let me send in that file again. Yeah, so there should be the one I just uploaded in the channel should fix it.
Okay. Let's take a look. It's ready. All right. So I'm going to save this. Control S. Let's go to index and we'll just do index of -1. Serpens remove. I don't know about you, Joshua, but I'm having lots of fun, man. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very useful to find these bugs now and not, when it's actually out.
Not when it's out and then everybody's like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
The joys of an add-on developer. Okay, nothing works. Good. Then this is an old setup. I'm just going to delete these. And let's make sure Serpens is gone. Okay, install.
All right, let's hope I replaced the right file.
Let's hope you did. Let's see. I'm gonna open recent and beta test. Don't save.
Yeah, so you're going to have to refresh that node basically. So on the set property node, there just like change the value.
Okay, can I disconnect it and re-add it? Hey, look at that! It added.
Yes, actually. There you go.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's test that. So back to previous. I can add in a new view. It's got a value of 1. Now, if I hit delete
Nice.
view, oh, did I do this right? Let's see if I did this right. I've got an operator. I'm executing remove collection item, and I'm pulling in my save views. and I listed index of -1. Is that wrong?
No. It's not wrong. I don't know if the -1 works, but it. Oh yeah, maybe it doesn't work because it's a function that's being called and it can't handle the -1. Yeah, it could be. Just maybe try
0?
0 to
Let's
just
try
see if it
0.
works.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 0 works.
Yeah, so you could use your index, your index property that you have.
Let's so if I do the index property, which I do have a property labeled index, which is where is that
Yeah,
again?
the selected view.
Selected view, that's right. So then I have to use just add the node in the property node. Is that right?
Yep. And
then,
just evaluate output here. And plug in the active scene because it's should have replaced
you're
that
right.
file as well.
The active scene.
Why
No, that's okay.
to have replaced that as well?
I really don't mind that part. That part's easy because I'm used to that. we'll get this one. This will be solved so fast. Everybody's gonna love that, by the way. I don't need to use portals for my scene anymore. What? Okay, so minus. Hey, look at that. That's so cool. And then I could do additional code that would select, whatever. I could find out how many were in it and then activate the latest and greatest.
Yep.
Right?
And it's usually a good idea to to activate the minimum on the index property because like the minimum index is always going to be 0. There's no negative index that you can select manually.
Sure. Or I could run a for loop and find out how many items are in there and then just have it select the last one.
Yeah, or just get the length of the collection.
Get the length and then do the length -1 as the index. Because indexes start at 0, is that right?
Yep, that's right.
So now when I add in a new one, sweet, and I can change its name to view3. So all that would be left then is instead of giving it a value of 1, I would give it the viewport's current view location, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got on the BPy or the Blender Python API, there is the region view 3D. So I've got BPy types, which isn't like, is this data accessible for me to be able to grab information from, or do I have to use bpy.data? There is a view location here.
Which? Yeah. So you pivot location. Yeah. So what location exactly do you want? You want the location of the camera of the viewport camera, I guess.
The viewport camera, not an actual camera in my scene.
Okay.
But where I am in the viewport.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd click on blend data to go try to find it though, right?
Right, so I guess that's one thing we can go over. So you would probably go over context, because it's it depends on what area you're in. So if you have different viewports, you want to have it for a specific viewport.
Oh, that's right.
So what you can do is you can copy a context. So by default, this preferences window shows the context for preferences, and stuff like active object exists everywhere. But yeah, you can copy the context from a specific area. So for example, from the viewport here, just right click and copy context. I think you need to right click a property.
Okay, as long as it's on a property or a button, I can copy context, right? So this is perfect because this is my next question: is when am I going to use copy context? This is the perfect time to talk about that.
Yep. So then you just go here and you see under the reload button in context, it now says reload context view3D UI. So that's the context you copied. So you press that reload button and it loads the context, that specific context.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, one thing that is like we had this issue earlier where we had Suzanne and you deleted it and then you tried to expand the property that didn't exist anymore because Suzanne was gone.
Yeah.
So this might happen here because you're in a different context now in the preferences than the one you copied. So just be aware of that, but generally you should be good to go here.
Okay. So I'm using the View3D's UI context currently, which is here. And even though I'm on the panel, it's still technically calling this whole area the context, right? The View3D.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it should be it, yeah. Yeah, there might be a specific thing, but should work.
Okay, so now I want to
Yeah, I have
access.
no idea where that is.
Where is it? Region 3D. Here we go. View location. Oh, I think that's it.
Yeah, there we go.
So then I click on copy data path.
Yep.
And then I can shift V. And I can just plug in the value directly in.
Mm-hmm.
Or do I plug in,
Should...
do I change this to property and plug in the property? This is where I get confused.
I think in this case, either one would work.
Okay.
But like
because
you
this
want
is
to set it
technically
to...
This is technically
Right, it's the same path.
Yep. Okay.
Same thing.
And
it
I love
really
having
only
this.
matters if you convert it, convert the data, or if you want to display it. If you want to display it, you always need the property output. If you want to convert it somehow, you need to you need to choose the right output.
That makes total sense now.
Just
actually,
for logic reasons, it would make sense to set this to data or to float vector, and then plug in the actual value output.
Yeah, let's do it the Sean shouldn't mess up way. This way. So now when I hit the plus button, so let's move my camera like way over here. And I hit the plus, I should see this populate. And when I hit the plus again, it should change. Oh, that's so cool. So now when I select one of these, I should be able to, the minute I select it, I should be able to reset. So instead of getting the location, if I do a set property.
Yeah, so you want it when you select the property, not like an extra button on there? Or like when you select the item in the list?
Yeah, now, where is the selecting items in the list code? This is the part where I get a little bit lost. Let me try.
Right, so you index there. So you have this index property, which updates when you select an item. So
I just do it on the index update, right?
Yeah, you need on property update. When the index changes, you set the location to whatever the active one is.
Okay, so then it would be on selected view, right? And is it on property update node? And then this would be execute.
Yeah, so this attached to item would be the scene, probably. Yeah, because you attach it to the scene, so this would be the active scene. The updated property output would be this actual, like the selected view. And the property value is the thing you probably want. That's your integer. And we're not automatically setting the data type on this output yet, so you would have to change that to an integer.
So I do want to set the property on my view location, right? So I'd plug that into property.
Yep.
And then the property value is it's going to be coming from the
Yeah, so you have your collection property. You want one item of this collection property.
And it's
going
to be the initial view item, right? Because it's got the float vector 3.
Yeah, that's the property you will get on that item. So we're going to have to chain a few nodes together here.
Okay.
So the first one is that we want one item from our save views collection. So let's add the save views property node first.
And grab my scene. That's not a big deal.
Right, so now we have this property output here, and we want one of the items from this. Set that actually back to save views, because that's the.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So our property output here is our collection now, and we want the active. We want one of the items in there. So we want to index our collection. So we need an index collection node that same as in Serpens 2 basically.
Sure, and that's going to be under as input or
properties.
Properties
should be under properties.
Index collection property. Okay.
Yep. So now we have this index here, and we want the index that we just got from the updated thing.
Yep. So that one can go there.
Yep. So now our property is one of these items, and we want to get the initial view off of this property now. So we add another Serpens property node and get this the initial view property from that. So this is from a property group. So
And this would be under view location and initial view, right?
yep. And then you plug in your property, which is the item you just indexed, and then you plug that into into the value. There you go.
See if it works. Oh man, that's sweet. And it will update. So if I change this to 100. Oh wow, that's cool.
There you go.
And I could always update the current view. So this is
You mean when you change this, it should actually update the...
Do these have updates as well that they can make use of, or no? Like
yeah,
this property update node?
Same thing, yeah.
So then I just have to come into view location and initial view, and then...
yeah, you can just copy this add property on property update node and enable from property group here.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Just copy this?
Copy the on property update node.
And then change it
on
to
property
node?
Group. No, so node is
from
for
property
like
group,
the
okay.
preferences or operators which have properties on the node.
Okay.
Yeah, so this way you get the panel just disappeared.
So I could probably... Oh no, did I break it?
Sure.
It's Shift R. Pile.
Can you just delete this node again? Ah, interesting. Okay, so maybe you can't do that yet, but that's good to know.
Let's see, from property group. And we want view location. Can't find this property. And I want it on initial view. Okay, so that totally broke.
Okay. Yeah.
Sweet. Another bug.
Yeah,
That's why we're doing this,
getting
Joshua.
long again.
Is not defined. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably the function not getting added because it's inside a group. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. It's not.
That's fine.
Yeah, can't do that on the spot.
As long as you can make a note of it, we can move on. So this is stuff. Right. This is stuff worth testing. You know, this is the fun part for me. But we've totally. So if I delete this, the add-on comes back. I totally just made myself a little add-on that I've wanted to make for a really long time.
Nice.
Yep, I love it. Super happy. Now, saving the add-on still isn't finished, right?
Yeah, no, it's just a zip file with the placeholder files in it, but there's no code in that yet.
Okay. Well, I think that's probably good for a beta session. We've gone quite long enough, I think, unless you want to keep going.
Should we still have something to test then?
I think I've got like stuff. I need to digest this a little bit more because this is like, I'm going to use this a lot, I think. Being able to make yourself a collection with property groups built in and an index. This is going to be like a pretty standard workflow, right? You're going to use a similar structure.
Yeah.
When you do this over and over again. So let's say I didn't want to remember views, but I wanted to remember objects. I would use the same structure, basically, right?
Yes.
Do a collection,
sure.
I do a property group, and I do an index to figure out which one I've got active. Yeah,
so this collection always needs a group, and then if you want to display it and like select one as an active one, then you always need the index property. Yeah.
Cool. Wow. Yeah, I'm satisfied so far. I was satisfied an hour in, but now it's been past 3. So I'll let you go. I think the beta is coming along really well. There's still small things here and there, but we were able to get through it. You only had to submit me one update. That's better than Serpens 2.
That's true. Yeah.
So I would say
we're going to.
Yeah, I would say maybe one more of these in the future. On the next beta that you feel like you want to test, I can totally come on live and just play around. And if you want to come, you can. Otherwise, I'll just stream it and see how far I can get.
Oh yeah, no, I'm happy to jump in again. Yeah, I think it makes sense. Like the nodes are done now. The big things that are still left is the snippets, which yeah, we're not exactly sure yet because we kind of want to have the old ones compatible. And yeah, the properties are kind of complex now, so we kind of need to do a lot to make those work again. But yeah, that's sort of the biggest thing that is left.
Okay.
And the export should be fairly simple to do, but it's the kind of the other big thing. And apart from that, it's just bug fixes. There's quite a lot of small things we have that still need to be done.
Sure.
But
Oh, I did have
yeah,
one more.
that's true.
I've got one more before we call it quits. So you have a list of things that got added recently. The display Serpens shortcut node. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so you can add, like if you add an on key press node, just same as before.
Okay, so come in here and it's going to be under
Events.
Events.
Yep.
On key press. Okay.
Right, and then yeah, so just select something in here, like a, I don't know, opening up a menu or something. Like you need something selected to
Let's just do my
actually
add
get the
view.
shortcut.
We'll add a view
Yeah.
just with a shortcut. Let's do Control Shift Y. Yeah, so Y Control Shift.
Yep. So if you add and display Serpens property node now. Yeah,
So
sorry, Serpens shortcut.
is it display?
Yeah, it's under interface, display Serpens shortcut, a bit below that.
There we go. All right, display Serpens shortcut. Copy Blender shortcuts from the Blend data browser in the display property. Okay, so I've gotten on key press. And then I just plug this in.
Connect it up to some interface.
I'll just plug it into the panel. Let's keep it simple for now.
Yeah, and you might want to check the console because.
Let's take a look, shall we? Find user key config.
Okay, maybe reselect the operator in the on key press node.
Okay. Just clear it out of here. Go to panel, back to operator.
Okay, can you maybe just change it to menu and just like choose a Blender menu?
Sure. Let's do. Wait. Is that right?
Add node menu or something. Like just press Shift A in the node editor and this one, sure. Yeah, so if you try pressing Control Shift Y now.
Hey, look, it's there.
Oh, it's there. There we go. Yes, it might be because of the operators issue we had earlier. That it's not finding the right one.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can display a shortcut now, and you could display that in your preferences and let the user change the shortcut, and it should get saved now.
Oh no, it won't.
When you.
Okay, that one worked.
Yeah, it will, like with the exported add-on. This, like right now, if you change your code, it will just reset because it's setting it to the default again.
Okay, but when we export it, it should now change the key press.
Right. So you can.
Will it update the key configs then as well? Like when I go to the key map and go look for it.
Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
But it will definitely get saved. Like when you close Blender and open it again and all that stuff that didn't previously work, it should work now.
Oh, cool.
Same with certain shortcuts. Actually, you can change them now and they should get saved.
Okay, good.
So
that's good to know. So the point behind the display Serpens shortcut, is it specifically for the key press nodes, or are other things useful for
Yeah,
this?
you can only display shortcuts you made with Serpens, and those are created with on key press. So yeah, that's what that's used for. You can, as it says on the note here, you can also display Blender shortcuts, like built-in shortcuts or shortcuts from other add-ons and so on. So yeah, and you copy those from the browser, the Blend Data browser.
Okay, so if I go to Blend Data browser and I want to copy it from another add-on, let's just go ahead and can we try that real quick? So I go to App, is that right?
Context, it's under Preferences. So yeah.
Context Preferences, okay. And we have Preferences, Add-ons. Then I know that, let's do one that I know that has, like it would be a key press that I'd be looking for, right?
Yeah, and it's probably not under the add-on itself. It's actually in the. Oh, actually, it's not under Preferences. Never mind. But if you go to Preferences and you close the add-ons again, you should see like key.
Oh, key map. There
map.
we go.
Yeah, but that should it gives you a warning here. Copy shortcuts from context, window manager, key configs, because the shortcuts aren't like you can find them here, but the ones you can actually edit and that get saved, you need to find those under the window manager.
So I would need to go to edit preferences here under key map.
Just like go to the browser again.
Okay.
And then under context, window manager. So not preferences, but window manager.
Oh, under window manager. Okay. So window manager.
And then I think key configs. Yeah, key configs. Yeah, and then you want to go to the to user. And then key maps, and then find the one where the shortcut is. So,
sure. So view 3D.
Yeah, and then the items, key map items, and then find the one you want.
Okay, so let's do machine 3 focus. Can we do this one?
Yep. And you want to copy the type. So yeah, this has a property somewhere.
Type.
Yep.
So just copy this.
Yep. Copy this into, and then Shift V.
And then Shift V.
Yep.
I can
and
put
then plug that into display property.
Right there.
That's just the value, and like this is, you see it says F now because that's the shortcut.
Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, so that's the label. So if I wanted display property, I would just do interface and then display property, right?
Right. So properties that already exist in Blender, you display with the normal display property node, and you want to copy the type. Or actually any setting, like you could also copy the Control Shift or something.
Yeah, they all have their own, like this would be all the possible keys I could do, right?
Exactly. And there's a checkbox on the node, on the display property node, which has full shortcut.
Let's see. Where am I now? Going back here?
Display property node, just the one you plugged in the type.
Oh yeah,
and
full shortcut.
The last option here, full shortcut.
Ooh, sweet. Okay, well that answers that question. That's there all the time, right? It's not used when it's not needed.
Yeah, that's one thing that's kind of like we're showing all the options, even the expand and so on, only exists for enum properties and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean you can like press Control H or something when you don't need them.
Sure, go like that and good to go. Then I can say yep, it still calls it. I did Control Alt Shift F. Hey, look at that. Oh, that's sweet. Yep, I'm going to love this. This is going to be great. I use this all the time. Beautiful. Okay. I think that's good to end on for today.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for joining. SKDSAM. Welcome to the stream, and glad to have you.
Thank you.
You had any questions before we log off at all, or are you just enjoying yourself?
Just enjoying it. Looking forward to the new features. Great work, Joshua, and thank you. Maybe the only thing I would say is if you can, Blanche, share that file that you've created at some point so that we can break it down a bit more. But when 3.0 is the release, but great stuff. Thanks, guys.
Sure, yeah. I can. I'm going to be releasing this on YouTube as well, but I can save this file, and when it's in a more workable state with Serpens and they release 3, I can release this too. So hey, here's an example of saving a view.
Perfect. Thank you. Brilliant. Great stuff.
Yep. Thank you, Joshua.
For the documentation, because we'll have documentation on all of the nodes, which I'm not looking forward to writing. We'll like for stuff like the display collection list node, we'll have like an example of a setup in that. So yeah, we just have a couple of the input nodes right now.
Oh, I forgot to even do the F1. So if you select a node and hit F1, is this a context-sensitive help, or is it just open up help?
No, unfortunately not. You can't really search on this Notion page. Right, but some of the documentation is now written. Like everything that has an icon here is written.
Oh, that's good to know. So if it has an icon, then I should be reading it.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I think documentation is something that users are really going to love. Those who want documentation. I still think you're going to have a ton of people who are going to be like, oh, we need tutorials. So I can help out with that part. I'm totally planning on making tutorials for Serpens 3.
Awesome.
But we'll cover that when we cross that bridge.
Yeah, but we'll add some examples in the notes there as well. So stuff like when you add a display collection list node and you have no idea what it does, you can just like replicate a setup.
Yep.
And go from there.
Yeah, the documentation part that's so not fun. I can't believe you guys are taking it on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just assign it to Finn.
Right, at least part of it. I'm not doing all of it myself.
Yep. Well, I will. As it gets updated, I can always go through and read through things too, just to make sure that I, as a user, understand and I can give feedback. So.
Okay.
Awesome, guys. Well, I'm gonna sign off on this. And we'll catch you all on the next beta test and possibly thereafter.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much for testing.
Yep. Thanks, guys. See y'all.
Bye.